American jobs back to the region in manufacturing through the enactment of the USMCA, and he has appointed over 200 pro-life and conservative judges. Donald Trump is a man of action, and I support him for president.
I support Donald Trump because he is a leader, he's strong, he doesn't let the bullies get to him, he doesn't let anybody get in his way, he does what he promises, and one of my favorite things that he's done in office so far is dismantling ISIS and bringing safety to the Middle East and to the world, really.
I am proud to be the youngest Indian American elected official in the country and one of the youngest Republican elected officials here in Ohio. President Trump is the right choice for the future of our country because he's building the greatest economy our nation has ever seen. Students and millennials want to graduate into an economy where they can work in their field and achieve their American dream. The Obama-Biden economy will take us back, and that's why we need President Trump for a second term.
Hi, I'm Paris Denard, Senior Communication Advisor for Black Media Affairs here at the RNC, and I am excited to be here with Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel, who is the most successful chair in RNC history. President Trump has presided over one of the most inclusive economies in history, and it is my pleasure to talk to our chairwoman today.
Thank you, Paris. I paid you to say that.
Yeah, did I do okay?
Yeah, you did great.
Okay, perfect.
Great delivery.
You know, President Trump has presided over one of the most inclusive economies. His leadership has really strengthened our country for all Americans. What are your thoughts on just the president's leadership on the economy?
I don't think the president gets enough credit for the policy.
Right.
Things that he did initially that really spurred our economic growth, deregulation, taking away those cumbersome regulations. I heard so many people say, I can't get a small business loan because of Dodd-Frank. Things that he did on that front, getting rid of the regulations to unleash our energy independence.
Yes.
Cutting taxes. What did that mean? At the corporate tax level, it meant more businesses were investing in the United States of America. Right. And then the trade deals. He said, you know, I'm not going to get in these multilateral trade deals. I'm going to deal with countries one-on-one, bilateral trade deals. On every level, the president's policies have spurred economic growth. And that's why we saw record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic, Asian Americans, women. These are things that happened because of good policy. And I think President Trump doesn't get enough credit for that.
I believe you're absolutely correct. He doesn't get the credit for what he's doing for the economy and when it comes to the safety and security of our nation. Look, I know you're a mother, and I know moms and just every American cares about being safe and being secure. Let's just briefly talk about what this president has done to ensure safety and security for all Americans. Yeah,
I mean, as you see, the Democrats right now, Kamala Harris applauded Eric Garcetti for cutting $150 million from the police budget in LA. I mean, as a mom, and I think most Americans, we want safety in our communities. The president passed the Safe Policing for Safe Communities Act, executive order after the death of George Floyd. This is something to help us feel safer when we're at home. And I know that as you know, mothers across this country are looking at what's happening in Chicago and Portland and Seattle, it's frightening.
Yeah.
And we do need a president who recognizes the importance of our police. And this is a president who absolutely supports the men and women in blue.
As the former chair of the Michigan State Party, Michigan is a very diverse state. And I know your leadership helped get President Trump elected back in 2016 from that state. Can you talk about why you think the America First message is resonating with all Americans, and not just Michigan, but across the country?
Well, for Michigan, we were dealing with an economic downturn, and politicians in Washington had flown over our state. We weren't a winnable state. They had written us off. We didn't have lobbyists that were talking about us. We weren't the elite from Hollywood. We were regular, average, tax-paying American citizens. And candidate Trump came and said, you know what? These trade deals aren't good enough. Our economy's stagnant. Your wages aren't growing. You deserve better. You deserve somebody in Washington who's actually going to put the interests of the American people first. And he's done that. So when he says promises made, promises kept, these are things that really resonate for people in Michigan as they've seen manufacturing jobs come back, as they've seen plants start to open. And across the country, we have seen this America First message resonate. You know, the president says something really funny. He says, I don't blame other countries for making trade deals that advantage them. I
Right.
blame our former leaders
Yeah.
who didn't make trade deals that advantaged our country. If we're the president of the United States, we should be putting America and Americans first. And that is part of the reason that Donald Trump was propelled to victory and why he will win again in 2020.
I agree with you on that issue. When you look at the president's impact on families,
Yeah.
I think we should focus it's the last moments here about the president's leadership when it comes to supporting American families and family values. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is school choice.
Yes.
Why should a child be their destiny be determined by their zip code?
Absolutely.
If you are born into a public school district that doesn't have sufficient schools, why not give that child, that mother, that family, that single mom, that option to give their child the best education possible? And I'm dealing with this right now as a mother with both kids in public schools.
Right.
The kids in private school are going back to school. My kids are going virtual. And that education gap is going to be tougher. And I think the president is right on in saying we should have school choice. Every American deserves a good education because we know that that is the gateway to opportunity, to innovation, to the best possible future for every American. It starts with a good education.
It does. And you know, what you've just heard from our chairwoman is so true. This president's leadership has really impacted not just people in Michigan, not just Black Americans, but all Americans. And it's because of his leadership we've experienced such great peace and prosperity. And so I'm excited about November. I'm excited about what the Republican National Committee is doing to help have President Trump reelected for 4 more years. So thank you so very much for your time.
Thanks, Paris. Great job.
Thank you.
You're a great interviewer.
Thank you.
We pledge in the honor of our great African American community to build a future where every American child can live in safety, dignity, liberty, and peace.
What he was saying to African Americans can be effective.
This administration, because of President Trump's quiet product, has done quite a bit for funding of historically Black colleges and universities.
And he was really directing so many of his comments to Black America.
HBCUs, our Black colleges, have been struggling for a long time. A bunch of them have gone under. He threw a lifeline to them in real life.
The First Step Act, which was a massive first step toward criminal justice reform.
The general and the young man who's going to be in the Space Force, the general, of course, now a brigadier general.
And the unemployment rate among Blacks, that dropped to 5.5%.
The lowest since the Labor Department and BLS began tracking that particular statistic.
I think he was trying to speak quite directly to some of the people in minority America.
That is a legacy on the agenda side that almost any president after 3 years would want to claim.
I'm John James, candidate for U.S. Senate in the state of Michigan, and I believe that democracy is an all-or-nothing proposition. It must be taken in whole or none at all. There are no little pieces we can part with if we're to remain free. I, like you, come from a long line of men and women who sacrificed everything so that we as their children could be anything we want to be in America. With each generation, from slave to sharecropper, to mason to entrepreneur, to the door now of the U.S. Senate, an American spirit was passed down to me that would not be crushed. Because democracy, I truly believe, when it's preserved, can't help but to grow and bring more lives into the light of prosperity. There are many things that need to be done to put America on the path to recovery. Not just economic recovery, but a recovery of the American spirit that fuels our democracy. I too fought for this country, and all Americans deserve to breathe free, not just cling timidly to whatever freedom the government decides we deserve. In 2020, we have a choice: to stand up and use our voices and our votes to defend our constitutional republic, or to concede quietly to a leftist movement willing to tear it down piece by piece. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.
I'm David Perdue, Georgia's senior United States Senator. The future direction of our country is now at stake. Radical Democrats are trying to perpetrate a socialist agenda on our country. They want to defund the police, abolish ICE, open borders, sanctuary cities, socialized medicine, and the Green New Deal. They want to take away our freedom. Here's the good news, though. Like me, President Trump is an outsider who is actually getting results. Before COVID-19, we had created the greatest economic turnaround in U.S. history. 7.5 million new jobs, the highest middle-class income in U.S. history, the lowest African American, Asian, and Hispanic unemployment ever measured. And 2.5 million Americans had actually pulled themselves out of poverty in this turnaround. We've proven what we believe in actually works. We will get this economy going again after COVID, but we have to re-elect President Trump and hold the Senate majority. Stand with us so we can continue changing the direction of our country.
I'm Mark Ronchetti, the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate here in New Mexico. I gave up the best job I've ever known as the chief meteorologist for the CBS and Fox affiliates to run for the United States Senate. And the reason why is right over my shoulder. My girls, Ava and Ella. I want them to grow up in the country that we grew up in, a country where the height of your dreams is only limited by how hard you're willing to work for them. But I fear now our values are under attack. Values of family, faith, and freedom. Look no further than some of our largest cities under attack by forces that don't share our values. But I do believe most of this country cherishes what we have here. And it's our opportunity. It's right in front of us to bring a better way forward, to show that what they see on TV every night isn't what we're all about. I hope you'll join our campaign, and I hope you'll fight for the values that bond us all together.
We want every American who is eligible to cast a ballot this November to be able to do so safely and securely. While Democrats are suing in state after state to strip away voter protection safeguards, the Republican Party is fighting back to protect your vote. If you aren't able to vote in person, you may be eligible to vote by absentee ballot. This is one of the most effective ways to ensure that your vote is securely cast and counted. If you are planning on voting absentee, it's important to return your ballot early. Another option is to vote early in person before Election Day. Go to vote.gop to learn more or request your absentee ballot. Feel confident your vote is counted? Go to vote.gop today.
I love America, one, because this is the land of the free and home of the brave. And it's a country where if you know what you need, you can work for it and become what you want to become. And for all of you guys who understand freedom, you understand too that freedom is not for free. Freedom was paid by so many great men and women who worked so hard in their lives to preserve and maintain those God-given freedoms He gave to us. Well, those men who fought for our freedoms are at stake right now. Our veterans are attacked, they are being attacked, the police is being attacked, and they need all of us to defend them. Now, for so many people, you understand that we have a man right now in the White House who is really wanting to stand up for what is right in this country, and that his name is Donald J. Trump.
I support President Trump because he's protecting my Second Amendment rights while also defending free market values that I care very much about.
I'm 18 years old. This will be the first presidential election I can vote in, and I'll be proudly voting Republican. Young Americans like myself need someone like President Trump who's going to fight for our future. Record low unemployment, tax reform, the First Step Act, reshaping the judiciary, defeating ISIS, building the wall, protecting the Second Amendment, and protecting the sanctity of human life. These were only some of the accomplishments that we have seen under this president, and we can expect many more. With President Trump in the White House, America's future and the future of our people is brighter.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It is racist.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Racist.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
Racist.
Biden sought and received support from Mississippi Senator James Eastland, the Democratic chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He frequently spoke of blacks as, quote, an inferior race.
It is racist.
And you ain't black.
Welcome to the RNC convention. I'm Liz Harrington. I'm joined by Paris Denard, and we want to take a moment to look back at the 4 amazing years of promises made, promises kept by President Trump. Paris, let's talk about this because it really is something incredible to see, to have someone come to Washington and actually do what they said they were going to do.
Liz, you're absolutely right. When you look at the domestic front, this president came in and said he was going to do things to remember the forgotten men and women of this country. He said he was going to put America first, and he's kept his word. And I believe my grandfather used to say, all you have is your good name. And when you shake somebody's hand and when you make a deal, mean it and do it. And that's exactly what President Trump did as a businessman. And he brought that to Washington, D.C., and he's kept his word and he's made incredible deals. And his policies have impacted this country in such a positive way. When I look at some of the things on the domestic front, like criminal justice reform, this was something that he didn't even campaign on, but it was a promise that he made to help the American people. And he made good on that promise, because criminal justice reform was the way that this administration just totally looked at with the 1994 crime bill that Joe Biden wrote, and how it disproportionately impacted Black Americans in a negative way, led to the mass incarceration of young Black people whom Joe Biden called predators. And this is something that destroyed the Black family, it destroyed the Black community, and it destroyed Black generational wealth. President Trump comes in and he says, you know what, we've got to right this wrong. And criminal justice reform was something that people had tried to do for many years, was something that Obama and Biden did not do for 8 years. But in less than 3 years, this is something that the president did. And it impacted so many families. It impacted so many communities across this nation in a positive way. Giving people second chances to be productive citizens, to contribute to the economy, and to be reunited with their family is a good thing.
It's what's best about America.
Yes.
And really, when you look at someone like President Trump, he's results oriented. He's a problem solver. And to have someone that he's running against like Joe Biden, what can he even run on? He can't run on any accomplishment. He doesn't have any after a half a century in Washington. But President Trump, in less than 4 years, built the greatest economy we've ever had. The unemployment, the wage growth,
Yes.
the manufacturing jobs. Obama and Biden said those were never coming back. You would need a magic wand. President Trump proved that you don't need anything except the American people. You need the government to get out of the way and have that equality of opportunity. And another thing, when we're talking about equality of opportunity and leveling the playing field, school choice, which is going to be such a big issue in the second term. But already this president has been the most pro-choice when it comes to schools, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to so many topics. But when you're talking about education, Democrats have been standing in the way. And now they're standing in the way of kids going back in the fall. The teachers' unions, they're so beholden to them.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the best of America and just getting that shot at the American dream, there couldn't be a bigger issue. And we have the president on our side fighting for every American.
Liz, the issue of school choice is one that is universally popular. It's universally popular because, like you said, it's the foundation for the American dream. Having a quality education is something every American, every parent wants for their child. No matter what zip code you go to, there's a reasonable expectation that when they go to school, they're going to learn, and they're going to learn in a safe environment. They won't get shot while they're going to school, like you see in a lot of these Democrat-controlled cities. President Trump, like you said, has been a champion for education, for K through 12. And we heard Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden literally said, if he becomes president, he said he would get rid of charter schools. He said there would be an NEA member in the White House, a radical union that is more on the side of teachers than it is on the side of parents and students.
And they're certainly on the side of Democrats. And
Absolutely.
They're completely bought and paid for by the teachers' unions, and they're not fighting for the kid. And it's not about the money.
No.
We spend per capita a lot on education. So why don't the parent actually have control of the finances? Why not let the dollar follow the kid, which is what President Trump is fighting for and what we're going to see in a second term? Another big issue, trade. And this is something that President Trump's been consistently talking about, whether it's being tough on China, whether it's about getting equitable trade deals, putting the American worker first for a change, not just the swamp in Washington, not just other countries for everyone else to get rich and our jobs get left behind. He followed through. And USMCA is the biggest trade deal ever signed. It's incredible.
President Trump said he was going to get rid of bad trade deals. He said, if I can't renegotiate them, we'll just do new ones. He said he was going to do that. He's been talking about China and the problems of China for years. He came to Washington in less than 4 years and said, let's get it done for the American people. And like you said, USMCA was done. This is something that is going to open up markets for small business owners, for American companies. And when he says America first, that type of policy brings jobs back to the American people. It brings manufacturing jobs. When Joe Biden actually was sending jobs out to China by the entrance of China to the WTO and sending manufacturing jobs away, this president said, I'm going to work to bring jobs back to this country, bring manufacturing jobs, and level the playing field for the small business owner. And on top of these trade deals, level in the deregulation, level in the lowering of the corporate tax, level in some of that the tax cuts from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which led to opportunity zones. All of this working together domestically and internationally is a promise made by this president and a promise kept.
Yeah, the China policy when it comes to the Bidens worked out pretty well for Hunter, but
Right.
not really anyone else.
Right.
And that, I think, is also going to be a big issue when we're talking about national security and the threats abroad. Who has been tougher on China? Nobody except President Trump. He's the only person to hold them accountable. And you look at all of these issues, it all has that one thing in mind. We love our country, and we're actually going to put our citizens first. And that's what's so important when we vote in November, because it's about keeping America great. It's about letting everyone have opportunity at home and be safe abroad.
Liz, before we end, there's just one thing I want to point out, and it's this notion of peace and prosperity. The president is talking about, from an international standpoint, the policy of ending these foreign wars, bringing troops home safely and securely, protecting the border. But when it comes to the idea of peace, talk about what happened literally right in the middle of all of this COVID-19, all of the things that have been going on with the campaign. The president was leading on something in Israel. What happened?
It's so amazing. The president is a deal maker, and it really proves peace through strength.
Yes.
He took out terrorists. He took out Qasem Soleimani, Joe Biden and Barack Obama. They took him off the sanctions list.
Incredible.
Incredible. But that show of force, that show of being a helping, strong ally with our only friend, our only democracy in the Middle East, Israel, has opened the doors for the UAE to now normalize relations. That's the first step in bringing real peace and real change. President Trump gets results, and it's because he puts the interests of America and he fights for what's right at home or abroad. And that mentality, the sky's the limit. There's nothing that America cannot do when we stay true to those founding principles. And President Trump, nobody embodies the can-do spirit like President Trump, and he always defies expectations. And that's what's so encouraging and fun and unifying for our party. And that's why we're so excited, because we know the best is yet to come.
The great American comeback is on its way with President Trump.
You ask anybody in there whether or not the economic and foreign policy of this administration has made them better off in the last 8 years. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we can insure every single solitary kid. We can provide catastrophic health insurance right off the bat. We can do that for the cost of just one thing, the tax cut for people in the top 1%. And with I don't know. You got to give them to the people who are going to spend the money. You got to deal with making sure American companies can be competitive, have a health care plan that doesn't put them at a disadvantage when they compete overseas. There's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called the.
We want every American who is eligible to cast a ballot this November to be able to do so safely and securely. While Democrats are suing in state after state to strip away voter protection safeguards, the Republican Party is fighting back to protect your vote. If you aren't able to vote in person, you may be eligible to vote by absentee ballot. This is one of the most effective ways to ensure that your vote is securely cast and counted. If you are planning on voting absentee, it's important to return your ballot early. Another option is to vote early in person before Election Day. Go to vote.gop to learn more or request your absentee ballot. Feel confident your vote is counted. Go to vote.gop today.
Cleveland, Ohio, District 11, some of the highest crime rates in the nation. Within the district, there is the second poorest city in America, 66% illiteracy ratio, 14 years of a Democratic Congresswoman who has done nothing. The Democrats have failed the people. Ohio is a swing state, and we all know, so goes Ohio, so goes the nation. We're talking about the president needs District 11. While the rest of the state of Ohio is red, Cuyahoga County, District 11, has always been blue. But I can tell you District 11 has never had an African-American Republican running in it. I am history. An investment in my campaign is an investment in America's future. It's that serious this time.
There's nothing career politicians love to do more than tell you they're not career politicians. Well, I already had a career. They all claim that they'll be the new voice or your voice on the House floor. I've already done that too. Doesn't matter how we think. The fact is, well, it doesn't matter our color. We have become successful in this country like no other because of this great opportunity to live the American dream. I'm not just saying things every other candidate is saying, I'm doing it. I don't have a cute slogan telling you how not a politician I am. I have a record that proves it.
Welcome, my fellow Republicans and Trump Democrats. I'm Dan Muser, and I have the good fortune to represent the 9th Congressional District of the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It has been an honor to serve, and I am looking forward to winning back the House and working with President Trump in the next term and making Pennsylvania and America as great as it can be for all Americans. I'm going to do my Joe Namath impersonation here and guarantee a win for President Trump in Pennsylvania. President Trump won Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes in 2016 with strong turnout by both Democrats and Republicans. Not only has Donald J. Trump not lost a vote, but he has picked up many. President Trump kept his promises, and Pennsylvania has had the greatest economy in perhaps 100 years. Joe Biden, on the other hand, and Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, and the rest have very extreme left-wing agendas. This agenda of today's Democrats, of these extreme left-wingers, is not what traditional Pennsylvania Democrats support. They will realize, as most of us already do, that Joe Biden is like an onion. The more you peel him back, the more you're going to cry. We are going to win, and win by a lot. And as our great Vice President Mike Pence says, we are going to make America great again, again. God bless America.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Bergman, and I am running for Congress in the 9th District of Tennessee to unseat a true national embarrassment, Steve Cohen. Under 45 years of representation, Memphis still suffers from extreme poverty and violent crime. In fact, we are ranked 3rd most dangerous city in the U.S. consistently. My own grandson was murdered in cold blood, shot in the back. Nationally, President Trump has done more for our Black community than any other president on these issues. He has created opportunity zones which support Black entrepreneurship and Operation Legend, which assists police to solve crimes. I want to get to Washington, D.C. to finish the great work President Trump has started.
Hi, I'm Guy Reschenthaler. I represent Pennsylvania's 14th Congressional District. I'm supporting President Trump because the choice is very clear. You have a president who wants to renew, restore, and rebuild America. You have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris who want to defund, dismantle, and destroy our way of life. On the economy, the decision is clear. A president who built the strongest economy we've ever had, compared with Joe Biden, who wants more taxes and more regulation. On China, the choice is even starker. You have a president who has actually held China accountable versus Joe Biden. I often wonder what the CCP has on Biden, Harris, and the Democrat Party. And when it comes to law and order and safety, you have a president who is willing to restore safety across the United States. The Democrats, on the other hand, will fail to call out the rioting, looting, and chaos we're seeing in our major American cities. For those reasons, I'm voting to renew, restore, and rebuild America. I'm supporting President Trump.
President Trump is the leader in our country fighting against anarchy. Hello, my name is Castor Stockham, running for the United States Congress right here in Colorado. We're standing in an area where myself and other patriots were surrounded by an angry mob. We were outnumbered 4-1, and they pushed us out of this area. You may have even seen it on national news. So my campaign is about law and order and about education. And I know President Trump is a champion when it comes to those issues. With his First Step Act, Second Chance Act, criminal justice reform, and the permanent funding of historical Black colleges, I will be proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with President Trump in that fight.
I have issued a proclamation terminating the period of hostilities of World War II.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of it soon.
We are one people with one destiny. We all salute the same great American flag.
Politics, as she has worked closely with the president. Her own husband, George Conway, has worked to try and get the president defeated, co-founding the Lincoln Project, who has been working to criticize the president in hopes of getting him out of the Oval Office in November, all while their family has fallen in the middle of this. One of their children, their daughter, is a very outspoken critic of the president at just 15 years old. Both of them, Kellyanne Conway, George Conway, stepping out of their roles of politics for now to focus on family, Tom. But again, this comes just less than 100 days out from Election Day, and of course on this critical week for the president. Guys,
it's such an interesting family dynamic in the Conway household. I want to bring now Cecilia Vega. Cecilia, the president today claimed a victory in getting swift approval for convalescent plasma donation treatment for COVID-19 patients, as many are actually concerned that he may be politicizing the vaccine approval process.
Yeah, and he raised further eyebrows today, Lindsay, with a comment when he directly linked what the FDA did with this emergency authorization and said, we got the FDA to do it very quickly. So critics are certainly seeing this link between the politicization of the science that's happening at the FDA and what we're seeing today. So the president announced that there was what he called this major breakthrough. But I got to tell you, the reaction has been quite the opposite. Experts, frankly, around the country who specialize in infectious diseases and the spread of them say this wasn't actually a major breakthrough at all. They call this an incremental step. And look, I'll tell you, I did speak with one of the nation's foremost experts today on infectious diseases, Dr. Ashish Jha, over at Harvard. And he said, while this is incremental, and he is very optimistic and very hopeful for the use of convalescent plasma to treat COVID patients, it's just so early. And he's not the only expert who's saying that there is hope that this will be a major step. But the real concern for many of these experts is that the president making an announcements along these lines, politicizing it the way that he has, could eventually impede the actual studies that need to get done on the use of convalescent plasma and basically stop it in its track from going forward. They say they need the science, not just a political announcement like the one they saw at the White House yesterday.
All right, Cecilia, thank you for that. COVID, the economy, so many issues affecting battleground states, just like they're affecting states all over the country right now. The president flipping 6 states 4 years ago that helped them deliver a victory, states like Wisconsin and even Michigan.
And that state once again in play, but so are potentially red states like Georgia, maybe even Texas. Ultimately, most people believe the path to the White House will go through Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, and Florida. And joining us now is a senator from one of those states, Senator Rick Scott of Florida. Thanks so much for your time, Senator.
It's great. It's great to be on tonight. It's good. This is going to be a fun week. We'll see a big difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting week ahead. And your state, of course, was supposed to serve as the alternate host for the Republican convention before the spiking COVID cases over the summer ended those plans. As President Trump prepares to address Americans this week, how does he make the case that he's handling the response to the pandemic well and that voters should trust him with another 4 years?
You know, I had hurricanes and I had a healthcare crisis while I was governor. And I never, I always tried to say, what can I do better every day? I think one thing that the big thing that the president did right is, stop travel from China. I think Steve Hahn at the FDA has done a great job trying to increase the number of therapeutics, give doctors the ability to make decisions. I think everybody at every level of government could put out more information so people can make better decisions. I think people clearly could have worn masks earlier, social distance earlier, and if everybody had done that, I think we hopefully would have seen fewer people get sick and hopefully fewer deaths.
Senator, I want to turn now to mail-in voting. The president continues to criticize the idea of mail-in voting, although he has praised Florida's absentee ballot system, where he himself has mailed in his ballot. Is the president's rhetoric on this issue undermining confidence on Election Day? And could it actually hurt him in a battleground state like yours, where so many seniors and others really regularly vote by mail?
Well, look, I hope not, because we have mail-in ballots in Florida. It works. It's worked we've been doing it for a long time. I've had 3 elections, and we clearly focused on it. So I think we all want to make sure everybody that has a right to vote votes, but we don't want any fraud. I'm glad the Postmaster General has come out and said that he has plenty of resources, has plenty of money. He's going to do everything he can to make sure this election works right. I know our supervisor elections all across the country, Secretary of States, have to work with the post office to make sure these mail-in ballots get in on time. I think that's one of the issues that we got to make sure happens.
Now, it appears that Congress is just nowhere on another round of economic stimulus for Americans still struggling with the fallout from the pandemic. You've made the case for a payroll tax cut and other tax cuts as the best way to stimulate the economy. But businesses have pretty widely rejected the idea of a payroll tax holiday because the bill would still be due later. So what will the president and Republicans be telling voters in terms of their plans to bring much needed economic relief?
Well, we're having phone calls, we're having discussions every day about what we can do. I think the big issues that we're focused on is how do you help the people who have lost their jobs? How do you help our small businesses stay open or reopen? How do you make sure our schools get open safely? So we're working on all those issues. And I'm optimistic that we'll have a package that we can get out there. Unfortunately, it sure seems like Pelosi and Schumer don't want to get something done. It looks to me like they think politically it's better for them if nothing gets done. But I think the American people deserve to make sure we take care of the people that are hurting right now.
On that point, Senator, you oppose continuing those expanded unemployment benefits at $600 a week, like a lot of other Republicans. That's been a sticking point in the talk. So what do you say to Floridians who are out of work, though through no fault of their own, and who can't make ends meet, especially as we approach the end of this month? And Senator, I know you were a businessman before you got into politics.
Sure. First off, we've got to help the people that have lost their jobs, are struggling to make ends meet. We've got to do that. What we can't do is put ourselves in a position that our businesses can't get reopened. So I'm glad the president used executive authority to increase the unemployment benefits at least through the end of September. I hope Congress will come back and do the right thing and help those people that have lost their jobs and still struggling to get back to work.
And you've certainly had some tough words for your own state's Governor Ron DeSantis, including on not providing enough information to Florida residents as cases surged this summer. The situation has improved in recent weeks, but what went wrong in your state on the response, and what needs to be done at this point to make sure there isn't yet another setback?
I think all across the country, everybody that's elected has to be very vocal about what we all need to do to stay safe. We have to wear a mask. We have to social distance. I think we need to get more information out about where we're seeing the spread of coronavirus so people can make informed decisions. When I had hurricanes, I gave people the hard facts. When we had the healthcare crisis, Zika, I gave people the hard facts. That's what we've got to do, and don't sugarcoat anything.
Senator, so you're a Republican. Senator Marco Rubio, also a Republican. Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican. The president needs to win Florida. I'm checking our partner's website here, 538, at some of the recent polling out of Florida. Biden +6, Biden +8. A couple polls have him even. Biden +4, +7. These are all recent polls. Do those numbers worry you at all? And what has the president asked of you personally when it comes to campaigning in Florida?
Sure. Well, if the polls were right in 2016, we'd have President Hillary Clinton, and we didn't. The polls in my races always said I would lose. Why Trump's going to win in Florida is this. He cares about jobs. He cares about education. He cares about law enforcement. He's held the Castro regime accountable. He's held Maduro accountable. All these issues are important. He's supporting the military. All those issues are important to the voters of Florida. That's why I think he's going to have a big win in Florida.
Senator Rick Scott, we thank you so much for your time. And when we come back, it's been a year where race in America has catapulted to the forefront of our national conversation. And President Trump hasn't always calmed the anger. More on that when we return. Welcome back, everyone. We're about to take a look at an image you'll likely remember. Take a look at this. Mark and Patricia McCloskey, a St. Louis couple who brandished weapons, including an assault rifle, outside their home as peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters marched nearby. Tonight, they're speaking at the convention. The couple initially said they were terrified by the Black Lives Matter protesters. Matt Gaetz, a Florida congressman who we'll also hear from tonight, at the time tweeted an image of the couple, adding, "This is all of us."
And Lindsay, the conversation on race will likely sound very different than what we heard the Democrats say last week. The deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Rayshard Brooks sent thousands into the streets. The Black Lives Matter movement expanding and leading the charge, while the debate over defunding the police also grew.
And the president has called that group a symbol of hate, played into racial fears by warning suburban voters with veiled threats of an invasion, while also saying he's done more for Black people than any other president in modern history. Our Steve Osunsami has more now on how voters see all of this.
This is a president who is regularly described as racist by Black and brown Americans.
Every time you get on Twitter, every time you say anything, sir, you're saying it out of violence, out of hate. And we're tired of being hated.
And in the streets, where the protests have helped reawaken many in this country to issues of racial injustice, they are not kind to President Trump. For many minorities who say they could never vote for the man, their grievances began on day one of his first campaign, just after he and his wife rode that escalator down into history.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
In one breath, he appears to defend neo-Nazis who fought with leftist groups in Virginia.
They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
In another breath, he says he doesn't have a racist bone in his body.
I am the least racist person there is anywhere in the world.
In his opinion, he's done more to help Black Americans in particular than any other president in modern history, with opportunity zones for Black businesses and an economy that for the most of his presidency was booming. Even some of his greatest Black critics stood behind him when he signed into law criminal justice reforms.
And again, nobody has done more for Black Americans than I have.
I understand. Harris Denard agrees and believes a growing number of Black Americans are joining him. You see him often sitting in the background at the president's rallies.
If this man was a racist, he's the worst racist I've ever seen, I've ever met, I've ever tried to get elected and reelected, because that's not what you do. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to invest, empower, uplift Black communities and brown communities and those that are forgotten men and women. You don't fight for them like he does. Even when you only got 8% of the vote, it doesn't make political sense to do what he does, but he's not doing it just for politics. He's doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Denard once worked in George Bush's White House and says Black voters need to pay a lot more attention to this comment from Joe Biden.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't Black.
The Black community is not a monolith. And we are fair, open-minded, and independent thinkers in this 2020 election.
It's got to be difficult to be a Black Trump supporter in today's environment among Black Americans.
No, it's not. I would say that for me, it's not, because I remember something that my granny and my papa taught me years ago. They said, know who you are and whose you are. And if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And so for me, I proudly walk around with my MAGA hat. I proudly tell people that I'm a Trump supporter. I proudly go on shows like this to show people that it's okay.
He says that efforts by people on the left to defund police forces in this country are a winning issue for the president, because even in communities of color, families want the police to help keep them safe.
What has Trump done for Black Americans? Well, aside from the bill he recently signed for HBCUs, there really isn't much else.
What has Donald Trump done for Black people? Are you serious? Donald Trump has done nothing for Black people, let me be clear. The government he represents condones the killing of Black people across the country.
In my opinion, the one positive thing Donald Trump has done for Black people is to expose to the nation what many of us already knew, and that's that racial injustices and inequalities are still very much alive and well.
To many minorities in this country, the president is riding a new wave of fear among white Americans that took off with the election of this nation's first Black president. He has promised to make America great again. And many voters of color are asking, great again for whom? For this couple in St. Louis, who stood outside their home and pointed their guns at Black protesters? They will be appearing at the president's convention this week. Or for these people.
Trump's supporting your illegal cousins today.
All across America.
Please leave my vehicle.
Is that because I'm white?
No, sir.
You're
not
right. You're a
Oh, man.
Whose racism is so fueled by their ideas of this president that they even say his name as they're recorded in public telling other Americans that the president is going to send them somewhere else.
Trump's gonna you. Asian piece of.
So when President Trump says he's going to keep criminals from invading the suburbs,
I'm the only thing standing between the American dream and total anarchy, madness, and chaos.
Many Americans hear a racist dog whistle that's quiet but quite effective.
This is a tried and true tactic in American politics, appealing to white resentment, white racial anxiety, and white prejudice. It's something that has been done with great success by conservative political candidates going back many, many years.
But in this case, the fear of losing ground to Black and brown people seems to be a strong motivator in this election.
If I've had 100% or 90% of the good stuff, and now you're telling me I got to make do with maybe just 70 or maybe 62%, which is the percentage of the country that's white, like saying that I only get my share, that I don't also get your share, right, feels like oppression. The more we move toward equality, those who have had privilege and advantage often don't have the coping skills to deal with equity.
It is absolutely 100% certain that racial fear will be at the polls this November. And as the president likes to say, on both sides. For ABC News Live, I'm Steve Osunsami in Atlanta.
And we thank Steve for that comprehensive report right there. Let's bring in our powerhouse roundtable, Matt Dowd. I'll start with you. Joe Biden said he entered this race because of how the president handled Charlottesville. Movements need to have a moment, and that tells the story of why Biden decided to get into this race. We've seen the protests, the massive crowds. Do you think that energy translates into votes for Joe Biden and against Donald Trump?
Well, I think we have one test point on it, which was the 2018 midterms, which the Democrats won overwhelmingly, part of which was part of this discussion, but not near as much as it's been this summer. I think this is going to be a huge continued part of the political equation in this. And if you take a look at the polls, Tom, Joe Biden leads Donald Trump on who can best deal with race relations by more than 20 points. And so if this is a conversation that continues, which I think it will continue, it's on a very disadvantageous ground for Donald Trump in this. And so, yes, I think this is going to be part of it. It keeps happening, as the story earlier in the show said, in Wisconsin. This is going to be front and center until we get to Election Day.
Let's bring in Republican strategist Sarah Fagan. After Mitt Romney lost his bid for the White House, it was said that the Republicans needed to widen the tent, bring more people into the tent. Would you say that President Trump's words and actions have been able to do that? And doesn't even matter if he's able to get enough of the white vote?
Well, I think it does matter. It certainly matters for the party long term. And I don't think Republicans have done as good a job as we've needed to on these issues. But I think in many ways, when you think about Trump, his words oftentimes are very different than his actions. He misses opportunities to heal. And I think that is one of the reasons, as Matt pointed out, that he is at a deficit to Joe Biden on these issues. It's because of his words or sometimes his lack of words. But his actions have a different story. Black unemployment under this president pre-COVID was the lowest it had ever been in recorded history. It's a fact. He's done a good job on the economy, and that benefited all Americans, including Black Americans. He passed and signed and pushed criminal justice reform. And Alice Johnson is going to speak later in this convention, a woman whose life was dramatically impacted because of an action Donald Trump took. And then, of course, Tim Scott, who's going to headline this evening, pushed police reform. Republicans got behind a bill. It banned chokeholds. It put money in for funding for police reform. And many would argue that Democrats blocked that bill. One, it didn't go as far as the Democrats wanted to go, but they blocked it in part because they liked the political issue. That could be law today. That could have been signed by President. Republicans were unified around improvement, and Democrats blocked it.
But there's a political calculation when it comes to the president and all of this. I want to bring in Alex Castellanos, a Republican consultant. Alex, the president has hammered Joe Biden, falsely accusing Joe Biden of wanting to defund the police. We heard it right there in the Robin Roberts and David Muir interview. Joe Biden does not want to do that. But there are people on the far left that do want to defund the police, and the president is now using that to his advantage. In 2016, it was, law and order, and now it's this idea of defunding the police that the president is capitalizing on.
Well, I'm not so sure that Joe Biden's being square with us on this. I would make the point that if Donald Trump said, no, I'm not defunding the police, I'm only diverting some funds to other programs, I don't think he'd get the same slack Joe Biden is getting on this. And look, Joe Biden's not going to govern by himself if elected president. As you pointed out, a lot of people around him are a little farther to the left than Joe has historically been. So on this issue, I think the president has got something he should press here this week.
Tara Setmeyer joins us now. She is part of the Lincoln Project, a group of Republican political activists and strategists who are actively campaigning against the president. The Never Trump movement was knocked out in 2016. Not only did he become president, he took over the Republican Party. How do you convince Republicans who have stuck with Trump this long to finally switch to Biden?
Well, I don't know that it's trying to convince people who are still with the president at this point. I mean, if you are still supporting the president after so many failures, after all of the things that he's done with COVID-19, with his cozying up to our enemies and dictators, to the mess that the economy is now because of his lack of leadership with COVID, him playing footsie with white nationalists. I mean, the list is very long of grievances and of things that Donald Trump has done that are not Republican by any means. So those aren't the people we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach the people who held their nose and voted for Donald Trump because they couldn't stand Hillary Clinton and they thought that perhaps he would grow into the job. There are a lot of those people who are in suburban neighborhoods, in suburban districts across this country, who did not vote for Republicans in 2018. If you see the landslide in so many what were once Republican districts that now are Democratic districts, it shows you that there are Republicans who are uncomfortable with this, and there are plenty of independents who are also uncomfortable with what Donald Trump has done and the lack of leadership. So what we've done at the Lincoln Project and what we're focusing in on is letting people know that it's okay if you are uncomfortable with what Donald Trump is doing, because he poses an existential threat to our constitutional republic. And the couple of Republican policies that he may have supported or passed are not worth the chaos and the division that he has caused in this country, and that we can't take another 4 years of it.
Yvette Simpson, CEO for Democracy for America, progressive Democrat. Want to bring you into this. Only 8% of Black people voted for President Trump 4 years ago. Only 3% of African Americans think that President Trump has actually done a good job at reducing discrimination against Black people in the criminal justice system. It seems like it should be a slam dunk for Joe Biden, and yet maybe it's not.
You know, I think when you put those statistics out there, I think it is. I mean, Black folks have been with the Democratic Party for a very, very long time. This president has moved, I think, more Black people to Joe Biden than anybody could. And here's why. Because the difference is stark. Donald Trump could care less about Black people. He's made that very, very clear. I want to talk about the tokenization of Black people in his campaign, the fact that he seems to use Black people as pawns. We can think back to the State of the Union, which was really stark. He honored a Tuskegee Airman and then gave the Medal of Honor to Rush Limbaugh in the same breath. You hear him talking about Charlottesville, good people on both sides. And I think Black people have awoken to that. No, we don't think Joe Biden is perfect. And yes, we're going to continue to push him to be better. But the alternative is stark. And what we know is that under a Joe Biden presidency, we're at least not going to have someone that's stoking the fire of racism, who is using African Americans and actually not delivering for us and creating the type of unrest that we're seeing in places like what we're seeing in Wisconsin today.
Let's bring in Terry Moran. He joins us now. Terry, back in 2016, Trump's base was motivated by his message. This convention, the Republicans don't particularly have a party platform. There's no build the wall theme this time. Tonight, Senator Tim Scott will headline tonight's convention. Herschel Walker will speak on his behalf, the famed NFL running back who was quoted in an article back in 1985 saying that Donald Trump would make a great U.S. president. And he tonight apparently is going to try to make the case that Donald Trump is not racist. Diversity is going to be on full display. But as you saw in Steve O's piece, many are not buying it.
That's right, Lindsay. You know, that is a great point. In 2016 and 2016, if you had asked Americans a week out of the election, what does Donald Trump stand for, whether they supported him or didn't support him, 95% of them could have said at least one thing: build a wall, ban Muslims, bring back jobs, go after China. They were all drain the swamp in Washington. That's a platform. You might not think it's that sophisticated, but those are ideas. Those are practical ideas that people responded to. What does Donald Trump stand for this time? And it has astonished me that it seems again and again he wants to push all of his chips into the middle of the table and play the race card. You know, what is he talking about, really, when he's talking about saving the suburbs from a Department of Housing and Urban Development run by Cory Booker, which is one of the sneering comments that he made on Twitter? What is he talking about when he catastrophizes Black Lives Matter and calls it essentially an anti-American movement? He wants people to respond along the lines of race.
All right, our Terry Moran, who we were just listening to right there, we're going to dip into the RNC coverage of the first night of their convention right now. Timothy Dolan, Reverend Timothy Dolan, is wrapping up the prayer in front of the Statue of Liberty right now. And I see him right there, Lady Liberty on full screen, as we head to the Mellon Auditorium of Washington, D.C., a World War II veteran, and the Pledge of Allegiance.
America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. It is an honor to be with you tonight. My name is Charlie Kirk. I run the largest pro-American student organization in the country, Turning Point USA, fighting for the future of our republic. Speaking to you in my personal capacity tonight as a 26-year-old, I see the angst of young people as well as the challenges facing new parents. I am here tonight to tell you, to warn you.
Okay, we were just listening to Charlie Kirk there, the founder of Turning Points USA, a conservative organization that looks out for quote-unquote liberal versus conservative teachers on college campuses. Yvette, I wanted to go back to you and talk to you about something because there's 10 weeks left in this campaign. We saw a little bit of the problems Joe Biden has had there with black voters, and you were talking about this. With him not being able to campaign, to go out there, to meet with voters, is 10 weeks enough time to maybe fix any of those problems he may have? Because he needs as many votes as he can get come November.
10 weeks is not a lot of time. And I think that's why you're going to see a lot of surrogates. You're going to see a lot of people, activists, organizers already out there talking to other black voters, really making the case for the stark difference between the two candidates, not really trying to push Joe Biden as this person who's going to be, the savior of black people. We certainly don't need that. But I think certainly helping people understand how important this election is. I think the real challenge is engaging voters who did not vote in 16. I keep saying it over and over again, but who voted in 08 and 12. And the hope is that Kamala Harris, the excitement around her, the black women who are going to mobilize around her are going to be enough. I would say to Joe Biden, and this is something that I've said before, the less he says when it comes to race, I think sometimes the better, because he does sometimes stumble. And I think that's because he's got a comfort level that doesn't always translate very well because he's kind of an older guy. And so I would say stay away from those conversations. Let surrogates have those conversations. Certainly allow Kamala Harris to organize the way that only she can. And I think we will get there. But yeah, 10 weeks is not a lot of time.
Okay, and the clock is ticking. As we look back at what's happening right now at the Republican National Convention, Charlie Kirk there, the founder of Turning Points USA, essentially the new face of the young Republican Party. And Sarah, my question to you, what is the status of young Republicans nowadays? We think back to the 80s and Michael P. Keaton and guys in blazers with ties, and yet the young conservatives that Charlie represents are much different. They're much more aggressive. They're out on campus. They if we can say, want to get in people's faces to say that they're much more active on both social media and getting out there, but the kind of conservatives that Donald Trump likes.
Well, look, I think, certainly Trump's stamp on the party has had an impact on young people as well. It's had an impact in the sense, too, that, fewer young people are supporting this president than some previous Republican presidents. So he has work to do with that demographic group. But I think what's happening on college campuses is partially Trump. It's also partially, when you think about just the lack of diverse opinion, education, intellect, opinion, and, speakers getting canceled on campus, any Republicans. We've seen examples of professors who say, if you have a pro-life view, you're not allowed to speak. I mean, this happens in college campuses. And so I think that also is contributing to sometimes when you see these young people who are very articulate and passionate about these issues, it's because of what's happening all around them. The politicization of everything in society, including on their campus.
We're going to bring in Alex in just a minute, but just wanted to stay with that notion of Charlie Kirk. We're obviously hearing from him tonight. We're also going to hear from Donald Trump Jr. Both of them were briefly suspended from Twitter when they tweeted out messages about hydroxychloroquine being 100% effective cures for coronavirus. Are you concerned at all about the Republican message when it comes to facts and people kind of feeling like that there's this loosey-goosey, we can say anything whether it's true or not?
I think that's a problem across politics, to be totally fair. I mean, people get on Twitter and they just repeat whatever their whatever they've seen recently. And the president's gotten in trouble by retweeting other people's tweets. Charlie Kirk's a bright young man. He's got a bright future. A lot of conservatives, though, do feel like they get targeted on these platforms. And, he shouldn't say that a drug, when he's not a medical professional, he shouldn't espouse the value of a drug he doesn't know to be 100% effective. But I would question, does that happen as much on the left? Because I'm not certain it does. And you'll see the Trump campaign and the RNC talk about the cancel culture this week a lot. And increasingly, conservatives do feel like on these social media platforms, there's a different standard for them. And for when they're just retweeting something, there's a different standard than if somebody on the left is just retweeting something.
Alex, let's bring you back in here. How do you think that Republicans should try and appeal to those few undecided voters that may still remain out there?
Well, I think the two great motivators in politics are hope and fear. And they always seem to work, and because it is an important choice. And I think this week it's important for the Republicans to say, look, this is not about who is the worst or best person. This is about who is best or worst for the country. And here's the two different directions we're going to go in. That these Democratic candidates, show them on that debate stage where they all raised their hands and said they were going to decriminalize coming to this country illegally and give everyone who did free health care that you, the taxpayer, would pay for. I think you have to force the choice this week. Imagine 2021 if Joe Biden's there. Black Lives Matter is going to have a great influence. And yes, we all want racial justice, and we've seen some horrible things. But guess what? We've also seen that movement turn into something violent, and 88 nights of riots in Portland, and we've seen it say it wants to destroy capitalism, and that's going too far. So I think this is the week. If you want to appeal to those swing voters in the suburbs, don't focus on who the two guys are, because it's not about the candidates. Explain that it's about you and your future, and you've got two very different futures ahead of you.
Matt Dowd, I want to bring you in now. What's your take on the Obama voters that swung towards Trump? In the autopsy of the 2016 election, a lot of those voters said they believed Trump would keep or grow their jobs. The economy was moving until the pandemic. So do you think, what happens with those swing voters? Do they say, listen, the pandemic wasn't the president's fault, maybe he could have done a better job, let's give him another 4 years? Or do you think they're done with him and they swing back to Democrats?
Well, again, just as I said previously, we have one data point, and a whole bunch of those voters that were Obama-Trump voters voted for the Democrats overwhelmingly in the 2018 midterm elections. I'll also say this is not a 2016 election. 2016 election was an open seat for the presidency. This is a referendum on Donald Trump, and I think the Republicans and Donald Trump make a huge mistake by not focusing more positively on himself and staying away from the negative on Joe Biden. Keep in mind one data point. In 2016, a number of people had unfavorable opinions of both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Donald Trump won those people by 16 points, the people that didn't like either candidate. Today, the people that don't like either candidate are voting for Joe Biden by 17 points. And so I think the strategy for Donald Trump at this convention, he somehow has to raise his job approval number. It's at 41%. No president has ever won re-election under 49% job approval. When I worked for George W. Bush, the main was George W. Bush's job approval number. Because welcome, guys, to our coverage of the election. So if they spend this entire week, 4 days attacking the Democrats and talking about how bad things are in America because of the Democrats, which is a right direction, wrong track question, which goes to the detriment of the Republican, of the incumbent candidate, they're going to be losing this campaign. Donald Trump's key strategic imperative is to somehow raise his approval rating at this week and before he gets to election day.
But Sarah, a lot of the programming over this week will be about those forgotten Americans. And I think those forgotten Americans were those Obama voters that swung to President Trump and wanted to give him a chance. Do you think those voters are, it's the same question I asked Matt, do you think those voters will stick with Trump or will they want to forget Trump?
Well, I think it depends on how the next 10 weeks unfold, to be totally honest. I mean, Look, COVID has had a dramatic impact. Right now, this is the COVID election, and that's not great terrain for any incumbent because it We haven't seen a great outcome. Things are improving, and if things continue to improve, and the economy continues to improve, he has a leg to stand on with those voters. I don't think the electorate is blaming Donald Trump because of COVID-19. They do want to know how they're going to get their job back. And Donald Trump still wins on the economy. Matt Dowd is right. Trump needs to focus on how he's going to improve things and how he's going to make people's lives better. He did that well in 2016. He needs to do that over the next 4 evenings.
Yvette, we're going to see a lot of Donald Trump over the next 4 nights. Is that going to help or hurt Democrats?
I think it's going to help us a lot. Donald Trump is his worst enemy, and he can't help himself. I mean, he projects, he deflects lots of misinformation. I'm going to be counting the number of dog whistles I hear over the course of the next 4 days and tracking that. A lot of hyperbole, a lot of false information. And so I think the more that he does that, he appears less stable. We know that it's about Donald Trump. People right now want it to be about them. And so I think the more he talks, the better the Democrats will do.
Terry, I want to bring in Terry Moran again once more before we go down to the convention. I was going to say convention hall. Actually, just the convention. There's no convention hall. We see a president who's on the move, Terry, who's working to win. We see a challenger who just told ABC News he won't be on the move. He wants to be responsible and that people are hearing his message through the internet. Is that a gamble?
You know, we'll find out because it is novel territory for all of us. We've not had a presidential election like this. Look, back in the 19th century, presidents used to stay in their homes. Abraham Lincoln never left Springfield. That was considered the proper way of doing things. But really, for a long, long time, presidents have gone out on the hustings. That connection. Politics is about connecting. Can you connect in a Zoom conference? I'm challenged in my own life. And Donald Trump, the one thing he loves is stand in front of a crowd and connect.
All right, Terry Moran with a very honest assessment of his Zoom capabilities. All right, Terry, thank you. We want to go down to the convention now. Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida.
Emptier than Joe Biden's daily schedule. But we are a nation of full hearts and clear minds. We see the choice clearly: strength or weakness, energy or confusion, success or failure. President Trump is the first president since Reagan not to start a new war. Biden has foolishly cheerled decades of war without winning, without end. President Trump knows we are strongest when we fight hardest, not in distant deserts, but for our fellow Americans. We must fight to save America. Socialists. The woke-topians will settle for Biden because they will make him an extra in a movie written, produced, and directed by others. It's a horror film, really. They'll disarm you, empty the prisons, lock you in your home, and invite MS-13 to live next door. And the police aren't coming when you call. In Democrat-run cities, they're already being defunded, disbanded. Blaming our best and allowing society's worst? That's the story they write in Hollywood. That's if the lights even stay on in California anymore. A state that cannot keep power running for its own people should not send its junior senator to be vice president. They used to write only in fiction, but nightmares are becoming real. Cops killed, children shot. At the Democrat convention, they say, if you vote against Trump, it will all stop. Appeasement is never a winning strategy. No, we won't settle for violence in our neighborhoods or at our border. We won't settle for decades of bad decisions by basement-dwelling Joe Biden. We settle a continent. We know that the frontier, the horizon, even the stars belong to us. Donald Trump, like all builders, is a visionary. That which is built in the mind is even more powerful than the brick and mortar that holds it together. First comes the mind, then the making. First comes the vision, then the work. Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson are immortal precisely because of the pull they have on our imagination. You cannot cancel a culture that loves its heroes. The dangerous left need America to be weaker to accomplish their goal of replacing her. We know that to make America great again, we must first make something of ourselves. That is the meaning of true strength. My great-grandfather was a railroad man. As a Florida man, I watch our rockets routinely send the brightest beyond the heavens with our flag and our hope. America is the greatest country that has ever existed. Don't let any celebrity, athlete, or politician tell you otherwise. President Trump sometimes raises his voice and a ruckus. He knows that's what it takes to raise an army of patriots who love America and will protect her. We must win this election if we cherish our country as much as we should, for there is no place to run, no refuge for freedom should we fail. America is not just an idea or a constitution, it is our home. We must protect our home with unbreakable made in America strength, strength I see every day in President Donald Trump. Thank you.
My name is Kim Klacik, and I'm running for Congress in Maryland's 7th District. And like Shirley Chisholm, I'm unbought and unbossed. Let me remind you, the Democrats have controlled this part of Baltimore City for over 50 years, and they have run this beautiful place right into the ground. Abandoned buildings, liquor stores on every corner, drug addicts, guns on the street, that's now the norm in many neighborhoods. You'd think Maryland taxpayers would be getting a whole lot since our taxes are out of control. Instead, we're paying for decades of incompetence and corruption. Sadly, the same cycle of decay exists in many of America's Democrat-run cities. And yet the Democrats still assume that Black people will vote for them, no matter how much they let us down and take us for granted. We're sick of it. We're not going to take it anymore. The days of blindly supporting the Democrats are coming to an end. In Baltimore, we have the highest number of Black Republicans in the entire country running for office this election cycle. Joe Biden believes we can't think for ourselves, that the color of someone's skin dictates their political views. We're not buying the lies anymore. You and your party have neglected us for far too long. We want safety in our neighborhoods. We want to make the most of the federal opportunity zone I'm standing in right now in West Baltimore. We want higher paying jobs and more business opportunities. We want lower taxes. We want school choice. We want a chance to get ahead, not just get by. That's what President Trump promised, and that's what President Trump delivered. I want Baltimore to be an example to Republicans around the country that we can compete in our inner cities if we reach out to the citizens and deliver real results. President Trump is bringing this country back roaring. He's bringing.
I'm just trying to figure out, when was the country not roaring and what country is he bringing back?
To help President Trump complete this great American comeback. And then I'm asking you to help me start this great Baltimore comeback. Thank you, and God bless America.
Good evening. I'm Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman of the Republican National Committee. And on behalf of everyone in our party and President Trump, thank you for tuning in as we kick off this historic convention. As we speak to you tonight, we send our thoughts and prayers to those facing terrible fires in California, recovering from storms in Iowa, and preparing for hurricanes in Louisiana and the Gulf Coast. Democrats started their convention last week with Eva Longoria, a famous Hollywood actress who played a housewife on TV. Well, I'm actually a real housewife and a mom from Michigan with 2 wonderful kids in public school who happens to be the only the second woman in 164 years to run the Republican Party. And unlike Joe Biden, President Trump didn't choose me because I'm a woman. He chose me because I was the best person for the job. 4 years ago, President Trump started a movement unlike any other. And over the next 4 days, we will hear from a few of the millions of hardworking, everyday Americans who have benefited from his leadership. If you watched the DNC last week, you probably noticed that Democrats spent a lot of time talking about how much they despise our president. But we heard very little about their actual policies. Policies that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. Policies like banning fossil fuels, eliminating private health insurance, taxpayer-funded healthcare for people who come here illegally, and defunding the police. Their argument for Joe Biden boiled down to the fact that they think he's a nice guy. Well, let me tell you, raising taxes on 82% of Americans is not nice. Eliminating 10 million good paying oil and gas jobs is not nice. Policies that force jobs to flee our country or allow abortion up until the point of birth are not nice. The truth is, there's only one person who has empathized with everyday Americans and actually been fighting for them over the past 4 years, and that is President Donald Trump. In the nearly 4 years I've worked on behalf of President Trump, I've seen up close a man who has a deep love for family, a man who has reverence for the office of the presidency, a man with an incredible respect for law enforcement and our military. I've seen private moments where he comforts Americans in times of pain and sadness. Now, everyone knows he can be tough. He's tough when he takes on China, tough when he works to fix our unfair trade deals, tough when he fights to secure our borders. President Trump is always going to be tough when he is fighting for the American people, because nice guys like Joe cared more about countries like China and Iran than the United States of America. Tonight begins a new chapter in the great American story, a story that has inspired the world for generations. And when we re-elect President Trump this November, the best is yet to come. This election is the most important in our lifetime. Your vote counts more than ever. If you want to check your voting status, secure your ballot, or register to vote, text VOTE to 88022. Earlier today, President Trump and Vice President Pence came to North Carolina to thank our delegates for unanimously renominating them to a second term. Our official roll call and the business of our Republican convention was conducted today in Charlotte. We have created a short video to symbolize the excitement for President Trump across all 50 states and territories. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
The great state of Alabama.
Alaska.
Arkansas boy.
Arizona,
Arkansas.
California.
Colorado.
Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia,
Florida. Georgia.
Guam.
Hawaii,
Idaho.
Illinois.
Indiana.
Iowa,
Kansas.
Kentucky, Louisiana,
Maryland. Massachusetts.
Michigan,
Minnesota,
Mississippi. Missouri.
Montana.
Nebraska.
Nevada,
New Hampshire,
New Jersey.
New Mexico, New York,
North Carolina.
North Dakota.
The Northern Mariana Islands.
Ohio,
Oklahoma.
Oregon.
Pennsylvania.
Puerto Rico.
Rhode Island,
South Carolina.
South Dakota.
Tennessee,
United States Virgin Islands. Utah.
Vermont. Virginia.
Washington. West Virginia.
Wisconsin.
Wyoming. Are excited to nominate
Donald J. Trump, and Vice President Mike Pence.
for 4 more years.
Thank you for all you've done to make America great again.
it is our privilege,
To nominate you for 4 more years.
and we know the best is yet to come.
Well, I hope they get, what they always told us about.
We will make America great again. And ladies and gentlemen of this country, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come.
I'm just having a hard time believing that the best is yet to come. This is, I don't know. I'm just watching with everybody. I'm just watching like everybody else is. Well, let's see what she's talking about.
Be the beacon of hope for the world. How many people said they're going to leave America if Donald Trump was elected? They're all still here, and they're not going anywhere because we are in the land of the free.
We will never, ever sign bad trade. America first, again, America first.
America's great USMCA trade bill. This is a big win for the United States of America. This is a great trade deal.
We are going to lift the restrictions on the production of American energy. We will create millions of more jobs.
What we need is the belief in a better tomorrow and creating a better future for our children.
When I look in the eyes of my grandchildren, I want them to know that their papa was not silent.
We will rescue kids from failing schools by helping their parents send them to a safe school of their choice. We will completely rebuild our depleted military. The countries that we are protecting at a massive cost to us will be asked to pay their fair share. We will take care of our great veterans like they have never been taken care of before.
This guy saved me.
Yeah.
He saved me. Thanks to him, I'm here.
To me, he's giving people hope. What he's doing for the poor people, what he's doing for
Well, I can't say that this is any,
everybody.
I can't say that this one is any different than the DNC, so I'll just go ahead and err on the side of caution. I mean, the DNC did their fair job of making Joe Biden look like a hero, and of course that the RNC is going to make Trump look like a hero. That is their job, so that's all I can say about that. You know, both parties are in support of their candidates. That's something that we should see, and that's not going to be something different. Of course, they're going to start this off and you know, definitely talk about Donald Trump. That is their candidate leader. So, you know, that's their party leader. I don't think it's a big deal, like hearing that, you know, they unanimously voted to make the president of the United States already. That is the Republican Party's president. I don't think it's interesting to know that they made him the candidate for this year. He is the president. He is the Republican president. So, yep, we're going to keep watching here and hear what she has to say.
Of Williamson, West Virginia, where I've lived my entire life, the daughter of a nurse and a coal miner. Even though I was the youngest of 4 children, I was always somewhat of a caretaker. It came natural for me. So it felt right to follow in my mother's footsteps and become a nurse. And this March, when COVID-19 sent our country into crisis, I knew I had to help any way that I could. I deployed to New York in April and then to San Antonio, Texas, working as a COVID relief nurse in both states. As I contended with the challenges of treating our patients who had their worlds turned upside down, I noticed a positive change in our healthcare system. President Trump recognized the threat this virus presented for all Americans early on and made rapid policy changes. And as a result, telehealth services are now accessible to more than 71 million Americans, including 35 million children. Prior to COVID, telehealth was not covered or reimbursed under Medicare, Medicaid, or CHIP. This left our most vulnerable populations with no other choice but to have an in-person office visit with their physicians, increasing their risk of exposure to COVID-19 exponentially. The expansion of telehealth services has also resulted in the integration of video visits between patients and their families, allowing loved ones to have contact and visualization, as well as a better understanding of care. Telehealth has been essential during this pandemic. I don't want the media taking my personal story and twisting it, so let me be clear. As a healthcare professional, I can tell you without hesitation, Donald Trump's quick action and leadership saved thousands of lives during COVID-19. And the benefits of that response extend far beyond coronavirus. Telehealth will continue to aid many that are just unable to find transportation or a way to the doctor for regular checkups. This is especially true in rural America. I live in a town of about 2,000 people. We do not have buses, trains, trolleys, or Ubers available to us. In addition, the unavailability of services can also hinder treatment for many. So increased access to telehealth for millions of Americans has truly been life-saving, and we have President Trump to thank.
From the very beginning, Democrats, the media, and the World Health Organization got coronavirus wrong. The World Health Organization said,
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Human transmission.
Hold on. We are not going to sit here and act like the Democrats got the pandemic wrong. They're not the president of the United States. I'm going to make sure I correct that right away. That's completely false. So let
go about your lives.
Let Andrew Cuomo talk.
One
Because he had a
leader
plan.
took decisive action to save lives. President Donald Trump banning travel from China and coronavirus epicenters. Biden charged xenophobia. President Trump was right, signing the CARES Act, providing immediate relief to American family workers and businesses, declaring that
Let me just shut up. Let me give you all this full screen view.
in existing emergency funding, quickly getting crucial personal protective equipment to the states, signing the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, ensuring that American families and businesses impacted by the virus receive the strong support they need, launching Operation Warp Speed to fast-track a vaccine in record time.
He said everything that I could have hoped for. Promise made, promise kept.
He is ready, willing, and able to help. He has been responsive. He's done a lot of good things. What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Are we really using Andrew Cuomo, who is not a Trump supporter by any means? Like, really? I'm sorry, that's real bold. Like, Andrew Cuomo, like, screamed to the federal government so many times that he needed help in New York. Come on, let's not act like we didn't see that. But I guess maybe I was wrong.
G.E. Galley, an oral and maxillofacial surgeon and chancellor of a large academic medical and research center in Louisiana. I feel uniquely positioned to share how President Trump's decisive leadership led to a rapid and efficient response to the coronavirus pandemic. I know this as a health professional and as someone who has recovered from COVID himself. The COVID-19 pandemic exploded into our great nation with an intensity unparalleled in history. But our medical investigation and drug development systems were not designed for a pandemic. The devastating
I'm sorry, there actually was a plan put in place. It was
a prompt response led by President Trump cleared away
Like, I'm not going to go for that. You're talking about the party that literally are still not wearing masks to this day. Like, don't even try to paint your president as a prompt response president. I just got to be honest. Like, that's, if we're going to do anything, I'm not settled with Joe Biden either.
In very short order.
But that ain't cool. Nah.
Let me give you three clear examples of how President Trump's leadership removed regulatory barriers so COVID patients could have faster access to effective therapies and diagnostics. First, on February 26, 2 phase 3 clinical trials studying remdesivir were initiated. Just 2 months later, the FDA approved remdesivir for emergency use to treat COVID-19. Normally, this is a 3 to 5 year process.
So we have a federal plan in place for COVID-19 and testing now. We have a federal plan in place for COVID-19 and testing right now. That's what I want to know. Like, I hear what he's saying, but I want to know, do we have a federal plan in place right now for COVID-19? No, because it has been said and legislated that the states would handle the states. We do not.
Not been for the rapid deployment of these medicines, this patient, who is my colleague and friend, would have surely died. And third, at the end of July, I developed a fever and cough. I reached out to our testing team and received one of the Abbott rapid tests, yet another tool quickly approved by this administration. Within 15 minutes, my test came back positive, and within 4 hours, I was receiving my remdesivir doses, followed by an infusion of convalescent plasma. As a physician, I've seen firsthand how these breakthroughs have saved countless lives. As a patient, I've benefited from the expedited therapies made possible by the swift action of this administration. President Trump truly moved mountains to save lives, and he deserves credit. Thank you, President Trump, for providing timely access to critical diagnostics and therapeutics during this pandemic. Thank you.
170,000 Americans are dead from COVID-19 right now, and the number is still climbing. And what he deserves credit? I'm sorry, like I just can't agree with that. I'm sorry, forgive me.
Society since World War II. Patriots of every race, color, and creed rallied together to defeat the invisible enemy and save the lives of their fellow citizens. Today, our hearts overflow with appreciation for the incredible frontline workers who risk their own health and safety to keep America strong and safe. When crisis came, millions of everyday Americans rose to the challenge. In their actions, we see true greatness of the American character. We always find a way to victory. History will remember and celebrate the heroes of 2020 for as long as our great American flag waves over the land that we love. To every frontline worker, I offer the salute of a nation that is forever in your debt. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. These are my friends. These are the incredible workers that helped us so much with the COVID. We can call it many different things, from China virus. I don't want to go through all the names because some people may get insulted, but that's the way it is. These are great, great people, doctors, nurses, firemen, policemen. We want to thank you all. You have been incredible, and we want to thank you and all of the millions of people that you represent. Thank you all very much. Great job. Thank you. Thank you all very much. So tell me a little about your stories. How about we'll start with you?
I'm a postal worker, delivered to the senior community during COVID-19.
Good. And we're taking good care of our postal workers.
Absolutely.
That I can tell you. Believe me, we're not getting rid of our postal workers. You know, they'd like to sort of put that out there. If anyone does, it's the Democrats, not the Republicans. I want to thank you very much and thank everybody in that whole beautiful post office system. We appreciate it. How about you?
I'm a trucker.
Good.
Own a small business in Ohio.
Great.
Hauling steel mostly. You know, some of our customers actually made hospital beds with some of the material.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations. I love the truckers. You know, they're on my side.
Thank you.
I think all of them, frankly. I think pretty much all of them. How about you?
I'm a custodian at the post office as well.
What do you do exactly?
Clean up everybody's mess and everybody's germs and all that.
Can I tell you that world, that profession will never be out of business. You know that,
for
right?
sure.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. And how about you?
I'm a registered nurse, President Trump. I work at a New Jersey hospital. It's called Virtual Willingboro Hospital.
Right.
I also represent an organization of professional nurses. It's called the National Association of Catholic Nurses.
Very good.
But I want to tell you, sir, as a nursing supervisor, I am so in awe of your leadership. Honestly, I know many people have said often interesting things, but it takes a true leader to be able to ignore all that stuff and do what is right and not be offended by all the words being said. And you really do show that positive spirit to us. And as nurses, I appreciate that. But just as an individual, I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm for the nurses. I'm for the doctors. I'm for everybody. We just have to make this China virus go away, and it's happening. Please go ahead.
I'm also a nurse. I represent Genesis Healthcare, which is a skilled nursing facility company. I want to thank you and your administration for all the supplies and support and funding that you've given the skilled nursing units. Without that, we couldn't do as well as we had done. I spent some time in New Jersey. I live in West Virginia, went to New Jersey and did some work there. And we finally started to see things change and turn around.
I appreciate what you said, because we have delivered billions of dollars of equipment that governors were supposed to give, and in many cases, they didn't get. So the federal government had to help them, and all of the people that did this incredible work, they never got credit for it. But you understand where it came from. Thank you very much. Thank you both. It's really nice. Please, go ahead.
I'm a police officer in Englewood, Colorado, and I contracted COVID in late March and recovered.
That means we don't have to be afraid of you at all. Right?
I'm good to
Once
go.
you're recovered, you know, we have the whole thing with plasma happening. That means your blood is very valuable. You know that, right? Thank you very much. Great. Please.
I'm a detention deputy at the Kern County Sheriff's Department out in California.
Great.
And I also contracted COVID into March and recovered from that also.
How long was your problem?
I was sick about 10 days, really bad. I got everything besides a cough, but recovered. I was off work for a month and a half, and I work in our local county jails.
Did they do anything specifically to help you recover?
They gave me Z-Paks medication, cough syrup.
Okay. And I won't even ask you about the hydroxychloroquine because it's a shame what they've done to that one. But I took it. I took the Z-Pak also and zinc. I want to thank you all very much. It's an honor to have you in the White House. You're fantastic people, and the people you represent an incredible group of people, and we love you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
I'm Congressman.
Wow. I'm just baffled right now. Just in this moment, I'm just so baffled. But I let it play. Let the music play.
Principles and institutions that make America great. Don't believe me? Look at what's happening in American cities. Cities all run by Democrats. Crime, violence, and mob rule. Democrats refuse to denounce the mob, and their response to the chaos: defund the police, defund Border Patrol, and defund our military. And while they're doing all this, they're also trying to take away your guns. Look at the positions they've taken in the past few months. Democrats won't let you go to church, but they'll let you protest. Democrats won't let you go to work, but they'll let you riot. Democrats won't let you go to school, but they'll let you go loot. President Trump has fought against each of their crazy ideas. He's taken on the swamp, all of the swamp, the Democrats, the press, and the never-Trumpers. And when you take on the swamp fights back. They tried the Russia hoax, the Mueller investigation, and the fake impeachment. But in spite of this unbelievable opposition, this president has done what he said he would do. Taxes cut, regulations reduced, economy growing, lowest unemployment in 50 years, out of the Iran deal, embassy in Jerusalem, hostages home from North Korea, a new USMCA agreement, and of course, he's building the wall and rebuilding our economy as we speak. I love the president's intensity and his willingness to fight every day in Washington for our families. But what I also appreciate about the president is something most Americans never get to see: how much he truly cares about people. Our family has seen it. 2 years ago, our nephew Eli was killed in a car accident. He lived a mile up the road from us, grew up wrestling and training with our boys, was a high school state champion, varsity athlete for the University of Wisconsin. It was a Saturday morning, 3 days after the accident. I walked to the car to head up to Eli's parents' home when the president called. We talked about a few issues, and then he asked how the family was doing. He said, "They're doing okay, Mr. President, but it's tough." The president said, "Yeah, losing a loved one is always difficult, and it's really tough when they're so young." I then said, "Mr. President, I'm actually walking into their house right now. Obviously, they don't know that I'm talking to you, but if you'd be willing to say hello to Eli's dad, you'd make a terrible day a little less terrible." "What's his name?" the president asked. I walked through the door and said, "Todd, the president wants to talk to you." For the next 5 minutes, family and friends sat in complete silence as the president of the United States took time to talk to a dad who was hurting. That's the president I've gotten to know the last 4 years. The president who shared private moments like this with soldiers, victims of violent crime, and people who've had businesses destroyed by the mob. That's the individual who's made America great again, and who knows America's best days are still in front of us. And that's why I'm...
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. Like, if this was our guest, I would kill his mic too. I'm trying to be very open, but this is, wow, I'm just sorry. But I'll let it go.
Most of you know me as a football player, but I'm also a father, a man of faith, and a very good judge of character. I've known Donald Trump for 37 years, and I don't mean just casual ran into him from time to time. I'm talking about a deep personal friendship. I watched him as an owner of a professional football team. Right after he bought the team, he set out to learn. He learned about the history of the team, the players, the coaches, every detail. Then he used what he learned to make the team better. I watched him in the boardroom. He can be in the middle of a big meeting, but if one of the kids was on the phone, he dropped everything to take the call. He taught me that the family should be your top priority. I watched him treat janitors, security guards, and waiters the same way he would treat a VIP. He made them feel special because he knew they were. He understands that they are the people who make this country run. They clean, they cook, they build, they drive, they deliver. He told me, Herschel, make an effort to get to know people. Remember their names. That stuck with me. One time, I planned to take his kids to Disney World with my family. At the last minute, Donald said he'd like to join us. So there he was, in a business suit, on It's a Small World ride. That was something to see. It just shows you what a caring, loving father he is. It hurt my soul to hear the terrible names that people call Donald. The worst one is racist. I take it as a personal insult that people would think I've had a 37-year friendship with a racist. People who think that don't know what they're talking about. Growing up in the Deep South, I've seen racism up close. I know what it is, and it isn't Donald Trump. Just because someone loves and respects the flag, our national anthem, and our country, doesn't mean they don't care about social justice. I care about all those things. So does Donald Trump. He shows how much he cares about social justice in the Black community through his actions. And his action speaks louder than stickers or slogans on a jersey. He keeps right on fighting to improve the lives of Black Americans and all Americans. He worked night and day. He never stops. He leaves nothing on the field. Some people don't like his style, the way he knocks down obstacles that get in the way of his goals. People on the opposing team didn't like when I ran over them either, but that's how you get the job done. I pray every night that God gives him more time. Give him 4 more years. He has accomplished so much almost all by himself on a constant attack, but there's still more work to be done. If you love America and want to make it better, Donald Trump is your president. He's my president, and I'm blessed to call him friend.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Harp, a formerly forgotten American from California. In the classic Jimmy Stewart film, It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey is given a great gift, the chance to see what the world would be like without him. Tonight, Mr. President, we'd like to give you that same gift, because without you, we'd all be living in Pottersville, sold out to a crooked Mr., or I should say, a crooked Mrs. Potter, with no hope of escape except death itself. I should know, because I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for you. About 5 years ago, I was the victim of a notoriously deadly medical error. I survived, but only to be diagnosed with a rare and terminal bone cancer.
I just can't. Can you talk with me for a second, Danger? Can you just talk with me, please? Just talk with me. Your mic is muted. It needs to be unmuted. Please.
I'd actually be saving the lives of others by preserving resources for them, rather than wasting them on a lost cause like myself. And when I failed the chemotherapies that were on the market, no one wanted me in their clinical trials. I'd make them look bad. They didn't give me the right to try experimental treatments, Mr. President. You did. And without you, I'd have died waiting for them to be approved. Now with the coronavirus, everyone knows what that feels like to be waiting for a cure. But we've only been waiting a few months. Just imagine what 2020 would have looked like, fighting for your life without Donald Trump fighting for it too. In January, there would have been no China travel ban. Millions would have died. Millions more would have been infected. For there'd be no record levels of testing, no right to try treatments, no fast track for a vaccine, nor Operation Warp Speed ready to deliver it. And without Donald Trump as our patient advocate for the past 4 years, well, the opioid epidemic would have stolen even more lives from even more families. Kidney patients would have no future except dying on wait lists, for there'd be no initiative to increase donations. There'd still be no accountability at the VA, and our brave veterans would still be suffering long wait times with no choice nor access to faster care. Insulin and other drug prices would have continued to rise, while a record number of generic drugs would still be stuck in the pipeline. There'd be no price transparency. We wouldn't have health plans up to 60% cheaper than Obamacare, and we'd still be stuck with that infamous individual mandate. And God forbid what the next 4 years would look like. For in Joe Biden's America, China would control our drug production. We'd be one step closer to government-run healthcare. We wouldn't just be unable to keep our doctors, we'd be lucky if we could see any doctor. And even then, some of us would be denied care. For in socialized medicine, you don't beat the odds, you become the odds. And I would lose my right to try, just like Charlie Gard, that terminally ill British baby whose government-run healthcare system decided it was too expensive and too cruel to keep him alive. You see, Mr. President, you've done so much more than your promises made and promises kept. For numbers only tell part of the story. We are the rest of it. Facts with faces of Americans who would still be forgotten if you and our favorite First Lady hadn't given up your own wonderful life so we could have the chance at one. George Bailey's father was right. All you can take with you is that which you've given away. And Mr. President, that makes you the richest man in the world, for you have used your strength to make America strong again. Sacrificed the life you built to make America proud again. And you risked everything to make America safe again. It's a wonderful life. You made America great again. And on November 3rd, we are going to keep America great.
Hello, America. My name is Vernon Jones, and I'm a state representative from the great state of Georgia. As you can see, I'm a man of color, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, too. You may be wondering, why is a lifelong Democrat speaking at the Republican National Convention? And that's a fair question, and here's your answer. The Democratic Party does not want Black people to leave their mental plantation. We've been forced to be there for decades and generations. But I have
mental plantation.
We are free people with free minds. And I'm part of a large and growing segment of the Black community who are independent thinkers, and we believe that Donald Trump is the president that America needs to lead us forward. This is no time for sleeping in the basement. Joe Biden has had 47 years to produce results, but he's been all talk and no action, just like so many of the Democrats who've been making promises to the Black voters for decades. We've been their captive audience.
You started this with that you were a Democrat, I thought.
The Democratic Party leaders went crazy. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer literally started wearing kente cloths around the U.S. Capitol.
I would have to agree with this. I would have to agree with this, brother. I did not like the kente cloths in the Capitol, but
I'm supporting our president. I grew up in the South, in Laurel Hill, North Carolina, Scotland County, the Green Pond community to be exact. My parents, Robin and Rufus Jones, built with their own hands a 4-room cinder-block home with no indoor plumbing. They had very limited education, but they instilled in us a strong work ethic that drove me from those tobacco fields of North Carolina to those hallowed halls of the Georgia General Assembly. My parents taught me if I believed in God, worked hard, and treated every person fairly, there was no limit to what we could achieve. I attended North Carolina Central University, an historical Black college. For generations, HBCUs have been the incubators that develop Black scholars in math and science and religion, engineering, and politics. They have been important springboards for the Black success. But Democrats haven't treated them that way. When President Trump took office, he changed everything. He delivered historic funding to HBCUs, and he guaranteed it for 10 years, something that's never happened in the history of this country. That gave our HBCUs stability, the chance to grow, and produce the next generation of Black leaders. That's right, Donald Trump did that. He's also supported school choice to ensure that no child, no matter their race or zip code, is left behind. Every child should have access to a quality education. But education is just the beginning. The president also built the most inclusive economy ever, with record low unemployment for African Americans and record high participation in the workforce. He put opportunity zones in the Trump tax bill that would drive investment into our communities for decades to come. He put the interests of American workers, and especially Black workers, first. That's right, Donald Trump did that. He delivered historic criminal justice reform. He ended once and for all the policy of incarceration of Black people, which has decimated our communities, caused by no other than Joe Biden. Democrats wouldn't do it. Obama didn't want to do it. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris definitely wouldn't do it. But Donald Trump did it. He's also working every day to make our communities safer. As a former executive of DeKalb County, Georgia, I directed one of the largest public safety departments in the Southeast. I've seen tragic shootings on both sides. Officers killing citizens and citizens killing officers in the line of duty. Police officers are our fellow citizens. They live in our country. They have families too. They live in our communities. Unfortunately, Democrats have turned their backs on our brave police officers. They call it defunding, and it's a danger to our cities, our neighborhoods, and our children. Isn't it ironic that Democrat politicians have personal security to protect them? So why don't they forego their security and replace them with social workers, especially since that's what they want for you and me? Our police need more funding, not less, for frequent psychological examinations, for non-lethal remote restraint technology, and for more de-escalation and use of force training. These are the common sense solutions that President Trump supports. True, sincere police reform. That's right, Donald Trump did that too. Education, jobs, safety, security, on issue after issue. And in just a single term, he destroyed these negative forces that have victimized the Black community for decades. He gave us the opportunity to rise. Now, you know, when I made the public announcement of my support for President Trump, all hell broke loose. I was threatened, called an embarrassment, and asked to resign by my own party. Unfortunately, that's consistent with the Democratic Party and how they view independent thinking Black men and women. But I'm here to tell you that Black voices are becoming more woke and louder than ever. The Democratic Party has become infected with a pandemic of intolerance, bigotry, socialism, anti-law enforcement bias, and a dangerous tolerance for people who attack others, destroy their property, and terrorize our own communities. That's what this election is all about. And that's why right now, more than ever before, America needs Donald Trump in the Oval Office for another 4 years. God bless you, and vote Donald J. Trump. Thank you.
In 2018, a gunman walked into Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and changed my life forever. My name is Andrew Pollock. His name isn't worth saying. One of the seniors walking in the hallways that day was my beautiful daughter, Meadow. She was just months away from graduating and beginning a new life. We were so proud of the woman she had become. But in the hallway on that third floor, the gunman saw Meadow and shot her down the hallway, hitting her 4 times. After she was shot and on the floor, she crawled over to another student, a freshman girl, to protect her. She draped her body over her, and then the scumbag gunman shot my daughter at point-blank range 5 more times, killing Meadow and the girl she was shielding. She had a whole life ahead of her, and in that life, she could have done anything and been anything. So many moments that I waited so long for were taken from me. I didn't get to drop her off at college. I didn't get to walk her down the aisle. But every moment was taken from her, and for what? I never wanted this to become a political spectacle, but it did. I never wanted to meet the president like this, but I did. I was invited to the White House. The truth is, I had just buried my daughter that week. I really wasn't interested in public events like a tour or a photo op. I was interested in answers and solutions. So if the president wanted to meet me personally, I said I'd go. They said, of course, that was his plan. At the White House, my family and I sat with the president in the Oval Office and told him about Meadow. I told him what we knew. I told him that his administration needed to take a closer look at what went wrong and why. And I got to see who President Trump really is. He's a good man and a great listener, and he cuts through the BS. Then the president did what he said he would do. He took action. He formed a school safety commission that issued dozens of recommendations to make schools safer. But I'll bet you never heard about that. Instead, the media turned my daughter's murder into a coordinated attack on President Trump, Republicans, and our Second Amendment. In fact, when President Trump asked me and other parents of children that were murdered in school shootings to join him as he announced the commission's findings, the media's first question wasn't about protecting kids. Shockingly, they asked about the government shutdown. President Trump turned to me appalled and said, "Andy, can you believe these people? We're trying to talk about school safety, and this is what they do." But I could believe it. After my daughter's murder, the media didn't seem interested in the facts, so I found them myself. I learned that gun control laws didn't fail my daughter. People did. The gunman had threatened to kill his classmates before. He had threatened to rape them. He had threatened to shoot up the school. Every red flag you could imagine. But the school didn't just miss these red flags. They knowingly ignored them. Far-left Democrats in our school district made this shooting possible because they implemented something they called restorative justice. This policy, which really just blames teachers for students' failures, puts kids and teachers at risk and makes shootings more likely. But it was billed as a pioneering approach to discipline and safety. I was just fine with the old approach to discipline and safety. It was called discipline and safety. But the Obama-Biden administration took Parkland's bad policies and forced them into schools across America. When President Trump rescinded Obama's guidance on restorative justice policies, he put an end to that. And that meant the world to me. It's hard to tell how much Mr. Biden understands about what happened at Parkland. Mr. Biden has campaigned on bringing back restorative justice as part of his unity platform with Bernie Sanders and has pledged to implement it in school districts across America. But he doesn't even seem to know when the shooting happened. He said that he was vice president when it happened, but he wasn't. Mr. Biden may not know when my daughter was murdered, but I do. February 14, 2018. Mr. Biden may not know that these policies make shootings more likely, but I do. Mr. Biden may not know who was vice president that day, but I do. It wasn't Joe Biden. It was Mike Pence. Thank God. And I know who the president was too. It wasn't Barack Obama. It was President Donald J. Trump, and he took action. I truly believe the safety of our kids depends on whether this man is reelected. I hope you'll join me in helping to make that happen. Mr. President, myself and millions of Americans appreciate you and love you. God bless America, and God bless our president, Donald J. Trump. Thank you.
A curfew now in effect for the city of St. Louis.
Protests in St. Louis turned violent.
Mark McCloskey says he and his family have been threatened with violence. Under Missouri,
Wow. Is my audio still doubled?
Husband and wife attorneys charged with pointing guns at protesters.
They were simply trying to protect their home.
Good evening, America. We are Mark and Patty McCloskey. We're speaking to you tonight from St. Louis, Missouri, where just weeks ago you may have seen us defending our home as a mob of protesters descended on our neighborhood.
America is such a great country that not only do you have the right to own a gun and use it to defend yourself, but thousands of Americans will offer you free advice on how to use it. At least that's what we experienced. What you saw happen to us could just as easily happen to any of you who are watching from quiet neighborhoods around our country. And that's what we want to speak to you about tonight.
That's exactly right. Whether it's the defunding of police, ending cash bail so criminals can be released back out on the streets the same day to riot again, or encouraging anarchy and chaos on our streets, it seems as if the Democrats no longer view the government's job as protecting honest citizens from criminals, but rather protecting criminals from honest citizens. Not a single person in the out-of-control mob you saw at our house was charged with a crime. But you know who was? We were. They've actually charged us with felonies for daring to defend our home. On top of that, consider this. The Marxist liberal activist leading the mob to our neighborhood stood outside our home with a bullhorn screaming, "You can't stop the revolution." Just weeks later, that same Marxist activist won the Democrat nomination to hold a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. In the city of St. Louis, that's the same as winning the general election. That Marxist revolutionary is now going to be the Congresswoman from the 1st District of Missouri. These radicals are not content with marching in the streets. They want to walk the halls of Congress. They want to take over. They want power. This is Joe Biden's party. These are the people who will be in charge of your future and the future of your children.
They're not satisfied with spreading the chaos and violence into our communities. They want to abolish the suburbs altogether by ending single-family home zoning. This forced rezoning would bring crime, lawlessness, and low-quality apartments into now thriving suburban neighborhoods. President Trump smartly ended this government overreach, but Joe Biden wants to bring it back.
Do you want to know what that translates to, what she just said? Low quality, that translates to black people are coming. That's what that means. That's what she means. That's some messed up stuff.
Will not be safe in the radical Democrats' America.
I'm having you say
history. If you stand up for yourself and for the values our country was founded on, the mob, spurred on by their allies in the media, will try to destroy you. You've seen us on your TV screens and Twitter feeds. You know that we're not the kind of people who back down. Thankfully, neither is Donald Trump. President Trump will defend the God-given right of every American to protect their homes and their families. But more than that, Trump's vision for America is a country where you have an opportunity to work hard and build the life you dream of with a job you love, with your children being educated in great schools, in a community where your family can play in the backyard without fear, worship in a church without shame, and express your belief.
What about the kid? What about the kid that was playing in his backyard that the police pulled over a nonviolent offender and shot the entire trailer park and killed the kid? What about the kid that was just playing in his he was just playing in his backyard? That's what he said.
Dude, I just think I don't think they want to talk about any of that because like I you know how open I'm trying to be. I'm really trying to be open, but it's like when you literally bring these piece of
Excuse me.
just Melania's here. Oh, is that Melania? No, that's not Melania. I thought that was Melania. That's
Is that racist?
I happen to think our first lady is pretty, at least. Okay, I really do think our first lady is pretty. So I was, she has the same hair shape. I apologize. I did it. I'm sorry. You know how many times I'm like, are you Jerry? Robert, is your name? You know the Robert story. No one else knows it. But I guess we should let her. Can you lower her a little bit, though?
Yeah.
Choice.
Do you know that one of the funny things about the Republican National Convention, their first night is called the Land of Promise?
Oh yeah.
Like the Promised Land or the Land of Promise? I don't know. It's really biblical. Like even the tagline, "The best is yet to come." Way to get your evangelical voters in, yo. Like, the best is definitely yet to come. There's a whole Israel Holden song. The best is yet to come.
How could the best not be yet to come? As we are in a pile of garbage.
I'm really trying to be very non abrasive, but like, wow. Wow. Turn her up, please. Turn her up. Please. Turn her up. Let her talk.
And our schools. If you want to see the socialist Biden and Harris future for our country, just take a look at California. It is a place of immense wealth, immeasurable innovation, and an immaculate environment. And the Democrats turned it into a land of distorted heroin meetings and parks,
Wow.
and black homes. In President
Yet Puerto Rico still sits without power, though. Let's just talk about that. Yet Puerto Rico is still fully not recovered from the hurricane. But, writers.
And we stand for our flag. This election is a battle for the soul of America.
No, it literally is a battle for the soul of the democracy, period. That's point blank. Is there anything else to say?
Pelosi, Schumer, and Joe Biden. Blame America. Do you think America is to blame? Or do you believe in American greatness? Believe in yourself, in President Trump, in individual and personal responsibility. They want to destroy this country and everything that we have fought for and hold dear.
I think they should add something to the national anthem under God and under Trump, because that's how everything they do is. Like, everything has been like so like. But I mean, hey, the Democrats did it too. I can't be mad because the Democrats did it too. They made Joe Biden out to be the king that he was. Like, he wasn't eating sliced bread and wonder. But like, but this is the difference that I was talking about, though, too. The Democrats will not rally their base. The Republicans don't forget to rally their base. They'll bring in a couple black people to talk just to make sure, that we're not left out. But the Republicans are very clear on, like Jimmy said, like keeping their eye on the prize. He's right.
Americans. That beacon began to flicker once again. When President Trump commanded the defeat of ISIS, took out al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, and paved the way of peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, give her some full screen. I need a rest.
when he negotiated four trade deals with Canada, Mexico, Japan, and China, bringing back thousands of manufacturing jobs to America. That beacon shined bright once again for the world to see. America, it's all on the line. President Trump believes in you. He emancipates and lifts you up to live your American dream. You are capable. You are qualified. You are powerful, and you have the ability to choose your life and determine your destiny. Don't let the Democrats take you for granted. Don't let them step on you. Don't let them destroy your families, your lives, and your future. Don't let them kill future generations because they told you and brainwashed you and fed you lies that you weren't good enough. Like my parents, you can achieve your American dream. You can be that shining example to the world. Manifest and be the change in this country that you dream, that you hope, that you believe in.
Hello.
Stand for an American president who is fearless, who believes in you, and who loves this country and will fight for her. President Trump is the leader who will rebuild the promise of America and ensure that every citizen can realize their American dream. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders and fighters for freedom and liberty and the American dream, the best is yet to
come. Yes. Y'all better get Israel Houghton some royalties, okay? Get him some royalties, please. Please get Israel some royalties.
I'm Congressman Steve Scalise. We're facing some tough challenges in America. This isn't the first time we've been here. I've worked closely with Donald Trump over the last few years, and if there's one constant theme to how he approaches problems, it's how much he cares about the hardworking people that Washington left behind. I've seen this firsthand. After I was shot on a baseball field by a leftist gunman, first responders rushed me to a hospital where I battled for my life. That same night, Donald Trump came to the hospital along with First Lady Melania Trump. They consoled my wife, Jennifer. They were there for my family in my darkest hours. Donald Trump would call to check on me throughout the following weeks just to see how I was doing. That's the kind of person he is. That's the side of Donald Trump that the media will never show you. Look, there's a lot at stake. This is an election between a party that wants to burn down the foundations of our country to the ground and a party that wants to rebuild and protect our great nation. The left wants to defund the police. This is personal to me. I wouldn't be here without the bravery and heroism of the men and women in law enforcement who saved my life. President Trump stands with those brave men and women. Joe Biden has embraced the left's insane mission to defund them. There won't be an America to leave to our children and grandchildren without those brave law enforcement officers and first responders. Joe Biden's made a career in Washington for 47 years, promising things he's never delivered. In just 3 short years, President Trump has delivered huge wins for American families. While Joe Biden made hollow promises when he chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee, Donald Trump took action and delivered criminal justice reform. Joe Biden claims to care about the working man, but millions of good manufacturing jobs were shipped overseas during the Obama-Biden years to countries like China. Donald Trump brought those jobs back. I've seen how deeply President Trump cares about rebuilding our evaporating middle class. President Trump pledged to give the forgotten men and women of America a real shot at the American dream. And again, he delivered. The lowest unemployment rate in over 50 years, women creating small businesses at record pace, wages rising, the fastest, by the way, for lowest income levels. What can Joe Biden say to that? What has Joe Biden done in his 47 years in Washington that can compare to that? President Trump has delivered for the hardworking people of this great nation. It's going to take that kind of bold leadership to get us out of this COVID crisis. After President Trump saved lives by shutting down flights from China and Europe, he's now focusing the full weight of the government on a revolutionary plan to cure this virus by cutting red tape and empowering scientists to create a vaccine. This is visionary leadership in action at a time when we can't afford another 47 years of hollow promises. America's been through tough times before. Who better to lead us out of these times than the president who already built the strongest economy our country has ever seen? Donald Trump did it before. Donald Trump will deliver for us again. God bless you, and God bless these United States of America.
I'm Sean Parnell, and it is an honor to be here. In 2006, the Army sent me to Afghanistan as a young platoon leader, placed in command of Americans from every corner of our planet. Our platoon reflected the diversity of our nation, every race, creed, and religion. Despite those differences, we were bound together as brothers from the same American family. On June 10, 2006, our platoon was attacked just after dawn. Outnumbered 10-1, we endured mortar and machine gun fire as hundreds of Taliban charged us from three sides. We had 24 men that day. Wave after wave of Taliban advanced up the hill. I was wounded 3 times in the fighting. Nearly all of my platoon was wounded within the first minute, but the enemy kept coming. We fought to our last rounds of ammunition, and when it was over, we held the hill. In the face of death, I saw ordinary Americans become heroes. In our darkest hour, when our survival depended on each other, my men and I learned an important lesson. We all bleed red. Our differences did not define us. United, we were unbeatable. After 485 days of combat, I came home eager to enjoy the freedoms I risked my life to defend. But I watched with alarm as the party of my grandfather, a lifelong Union Democrat, turned against the very people it professed to represent. I watched as Joe Biden spit venom at an auto worker who dared to question Joe's intent to dismantle the Second Amendment and take your guns. Where Democrats once stood for hard-working, law-abiding Americans who displayed our flag with pride, this new Democrat Party considers these people uneducated racists clinging to guns and Bibles. The party of Harry Truman became the party of hedge fund managers, Hollywood celebrities, tech moguls, and university professors, all bloated with contempt for middle America. I look across the aisle and I do not see a party that wants you to pursue your dreams. I see a Democrat Party that wants to dictate what those dreams are. I don't see a party that wants you to be free. I see a party that wants to chain you to conformity and will destroy anyone they deem a heretic. I swore an oath to defend my country and its Constitution. President Trump has sworn to do the same. That's why he's advanced freedom, despite savage political attacks, to overcome the agenda of the radical left. President Trump has unleashed the economic might of this nation like no other president in our history. He triggered the rising tide of working families, brought us energy independence, reclaimed jobs from overseas that, Democrats said would never return. He has fiercely defended the besieged First and Second Amendments. That is just a start. With 4 more years, imagine what we can achieve by simply working with our president. I believe in our president's vision for the future. I stand here tonight calling on all Americans to join us. It doesn't matter what you look like, who you love, how you worship your gender or your job. If you're a traditional Democrat who's become disillusioned with how radical your party has become, then stand with us. You are most welcome. America needs all her patriots to rush to her defense. My fellow Americans, I promise you this. In our tent, you are free. Free to speak the truth, choose your journey, define your life. You have the power to go as far as you aim, then aim higher and keep going, because that is what Americans do. We are idealists and dreamers, lovers of adventure. We're rugged and independent.
I see
We
why
don't
we
make
couldn't get no
excuses.
one to do
We
this
make the
with us.
impossible a reality. Think about it.
What's that?
In a century, we went from ground-bound dreamers gazing to the stars.
I said
What'd
I
you
see
say?
why I see why we couldn't get no one to do this with us.
This is not the time to stand on the sidelines. If you love our country as we do, as our president does, join the chorus of patriot voices that will preserve this exceptional union. Mr. President, lead the way. Millions in our American family believe in this path to destiny. Guide us to that horizon. Thank you, and may God bless the United States of America.
We come together to imagine a future determined by the shining light of our hopes and values and faith. A country where we are judged by our character with dignity and respect for all. The belief that all are created equal, that lives matter irrespective of race, creed, or color. Committed
We
to
Why does it make you so mad when they say Black Lives Matter?
I don't know.
Why do you get so mad?
Historic crossroad.
If all lives really matter, then
Politicians
why do you get so
promising
mad?
change every election, but delivering emptiness.
Why are you mad? I know why you're mad.
He chose a different path. A man who is not a politician.
That's none of my business,
A man
look.
who cares. A man who works tirelessly.
Bro, how many times do we have to see a black person hug him, though?
Still,
Like-
politicians spun their deceptions and obstructed progress.
What's that?
How many times do we have to see a black person hug him?
We all know that it is easy to criticize. It takes a true leader.
This whole thing is a criticism.
COVID-19, while others criticize without solutions. President Trump's swift action saved lives. And as leading Democrats want to keep businesses closed down, our president is leading the way for a full economic recovery. We are America. We as Americans work together to overcome challenges, write our own stories. America, land of promise, land of opportunity, land of heroes, land of greatness.
I thought I had been forgotten. I nearly gave up hope. I was so afraid.
I believed I would die here.
American hostages, forgotten and wasting away in far-off prisons, wrongfully detained by
We
foreign
might have to call it a night early.
Americans who were beaten, abused, starved, and left for dead. Until
I just had to take my
President
antidepressant.
Trump stepped in.
The three American
For real.
hostages finally back on U.S. soil after being held captive in North Korea. We're following some breaking news in Turkey, where an American pastor, Andrew Brunson, has been released.
An American jailed in Egypt is back in the U.S. this morning after an intervention by the Trump administration.
A tough and skilled negotiator, President Trump successfully won the release of detainees and prisoners, among the most of any president in American history. While families waited in despair for news of their loved ones, President Trump provided a new spark of hope by bringing our hostages home.
We have Danny Birch back home, where he should be. He was in Yemen in a very horrible.
Mute my mic. I'm going to lose our job. Mute my mic, please. Mute my.
Secured the release of Caitlin Cole, Joshua Boyle, and their 3 children. Today we are bringing home another American citizen. Just had news that Turkey released a prisoner that we were trying to get to the
All
United
right, Danger. Turn them up in full screen.
All right.
Please.
Turn its back on our people. President Trump.
This Hollywood
Oh, shit.
actress who played.
We done broke the internet.
Diplomacy, negotiation skills, perseverance, faith, the ingredients of hope.
That was the first time that word was used on live TV.
Left behind.
Man, why
Priority,
it gotta happen to me?
freeing American hostages.
I love you.
We have 6 incredible people who were held hostage by various countries. And I'm very pleased to let everybody know that we brought back over 50 hostages from 22 different countries. We worked very hard on it, Ambassador O'Brien and others. And I will tell you, we We're very proud of the job we did, but I'd like to ask maybe Pastor Brunson to say a few words so we can go through and just give us a little history of what happened and how is life treating you?
I was held in Turkey for 2 years, and you took unprecedented steps actually to secure my release, and your administration really fought for me. And I think if you hadn't done that, I may still be in Turkey. So I'm very grateful.
28 years, right? They had you there they had you scheduled for a long time, Andrew.
Yes.
We had to get you back. And I have to say that, to me, President Erdogan was very good. And I know they had you scheduled for a long time, and you were a very innocent person. And he ultimately, after we had a few conversations, he agreed. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate the people of Turkey. And you still appreciate the people of Turkey, I understand, right?
We love the Turkish people. We still
That's great. It's great to have you back, Andrew. Thank you. Please.
Mr. President, thank you for having me.
Thank
My
you.
name is Sam Goodwin. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I was held in Syria for 63 days. And I think I speak for my fellow former hostages and detainees here when I say I'm as grateful as I've ever been for anything to be home safely. And thank you for the invitation and opportunity to be here. Particularly, Ambassador O'Brien was incredibly supportive and helpful to my family. And can't say enough nice things about him. Thank you for promoting him.
Good.
And just really happy to be here. So thank you.
We got you back.
You got me back. Yeah.
We got you all back. And we have some more that we're working on right now to get back that we better do. Please go ahead.
My name is Michael White, Mr. President. I do, once again, it's an honor to be here, honor to meet you in person. Basically, what had happened with me is I traveled over to the country of Iran. It turned out it was a major trap, and I was apprehended there. I went through a lot in their injustice system, in the Iranian justice system. Iran is an oppressive, extortionist, terrorist regime. You know what I'm talking about. But what you did, sir, is you were able to get me out of that prison in record time. It was amazing.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you,
Really
Mr. President. The
appreciate
honor's all mine.
Please.
Yeah, my name is Josh Holt. This is my wife, Tammy.
Yes.
We were held hostage in Venezuela for 2 years.
I know very well.
And you helped us get out. Senator Hatch worked with you very well on that as well. And it was a great honor to be able to meet you right when we got back. And I remember a lot of people asking me, what was it like meeting President Trump? And I just say I was blown away. I just got released after 2 years. Then I'm shaking the hand of the president in the Oval Office. So I don't really remember a whole lot of it. So it's nice to meet you again. And it's been great. It's been great to be back, helping people through situations that they've gone through. And now we have to start our family.
Well, the great people of Utah really wanted me to do something about the two of you, and we were able to do it. And a little bit of a miracle, I think, frankly.
It was.
Because it was a very hostile period. And we appreciate everybody working so hard with us, but we were able to get you both back. And are you living in Utah now, I hope?
We're still living in Utah.
That's good. We'll say hello to the folks in Utah because they're great people. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Please.
I'm Brian there. Spent an unexpected trip there in India. I was not going to India. I was going through India to Nepal, where I've been working for the last 18 years. But on behalf of my family and myself, thank you, President Trump, for getting us out and getting us home. The darkest moment of our whole time together, your letter to my wife came, and it really gave her the hope and the peace. And from that time forward, as more people got involved, especially the ambassador there in India, things became more peaceful, and the hope was there for the last 4 months that we really would get to come home, because they had planned on keeping me for 3 to 5 years. The original charge thing was 3 to 5 years,
Right.
and that was cleared. And then they came up with new charges to do a 7-year term.
Well, India responded very well to my request.
Good.
So we appreciate that.
And I appreciate everything y'all did.
Thank you all for being with us. We have a few more people we want to get back, and we will get them back, and they'll be back very soon. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great stories.
Hello, my name is Maximo Alvarez. I live in Miami, Florida, not far from the state of Florida, which is in just a 90-mile wide blue strip on a map for me. It divides freedom from fear. It divides the past from the present, from the future. I know all about the past. I'll never forget my own. My family has fled totalitarianism and communism more than once. First, my dad from Spain, then from Cuba. But my families don't run away. By the grace of God, I live the American dream, the greatest blessing I ever had. My dad, who only had a 6th grade education, told me, don't lose this place. You'll never be as lucky as me. I'm speaking to you today because my family is done abandoning what we rightfully earned. There's no place to hide. I'm speaking to you today because President Trump may not always be politically correct. He's in fact a successful businessman, not your average career politician. Our president is just another family man.
Wow.
And most important, our elected commander-in-chief who puts America first. Keep in mind, the other guy running for president is mostly concerned about power. Yes, power for them, but not for the benefit of all Americans. I'm speaking to you today because I have seen people like this before. I've seen movements like this before. I've seen ideas like this before. And I am here to tell you, we cannot let them take over our country. I heard the promises of Fidel Castro, and I can never forget all those who grew up around me, who looked like me, who suffered and starved and died because they believed those empty promises. They swallowed the communist poison pill. If you have a chance, go to the Freedom Tower in Miami. Stop and listen. You can still hear the sounds of those broken promises. It is the sound of waves in the ocean carrying families clinging to pieces of wood. Families with children who can't swim, but willing to risk everything to reach this blessed land. It is the sound of tears hitting the paper of an application to become an American citizen. Most heard and liked the promises, but soon after, they experienced the reality. Look at them, listen to them, learn the truth. Those false promises spread the wealth, free education, free health care, defund the police, trust the socialist state more than your family and your community. They don't sound radical to my ears. They sound familiar. And Fidel Castro was asked if he was a communist. He said he was a Roman Catholic. He knew he had to hide the truth. But the country I was born in is gone, totally destroyed. When I watch the news in Seattle, Chicago, Portland, and other cities, when I see the history being rewritten, when I hear the promises, I've heard echoes of the former life I never wanted to hear again. I see shadows I thought I had outrun. My parents only wanted one person to decide my fate, me. Not some party member, not some government official, not some bureaucrat. In America, I would decide my own future. I am so grateful to America, the place where I was able to build my American dream through hard work and determination. President Trump knows that the American story was written by people just like you and I, who love our country and take risks to build a future for our families and neighbors. I may be a Cuban-born, but I am 100% American. This is the greatest country in the world. And I said this before. If I gave away everything that I have today, it would not equal 1% of what I was given when I came to this great country of ours. the gift of freedom. Right now, it is up to us to decide our fate and to choose freedom over oppression. President Trump, he's fighting the forces of anarchy and communism. And I know he will continue to do just that. And what about his opponent and the rest of the DC swamp? I have no doubt they will hand the country over to those dangerous forces. You and I will decide. And here's what I've decided. My decision is very easy. I choose President Trump because I choose America. I choose freedom. I still hear my dad. There is no other place to go. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless America.
The Democrats are just going more and more left.
Many positive about socialism, liking it more than capitalism. Many of the ideas we fought for that were considered radical are now mainstream. The compromise that they came up with, if implemented, will make Biden the most progressive president since FDR.
The radical left has taken over the Democratic Party, and Joe Biden is marching in lockstep with them. Biden and the far left are promising to crush middle-class families with trillions in new taxes.
If you elect me, your taxes are going to be raised, not cut.
Promising amnesty and health care for 11 million illegal immigrants.
Citizenship for 11 million undocumented folks.
Promising to shut down energy exploration, killing jobs, and hurting America's economy.
I guarantee we're going to end fossil fuel.
In Joe Biden's America, the radical left get whatever they want, and you get to pay for it. They've already taken over Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Don't let them take over America.
Good evening. I'm Nikki Haley, and it's great to be back at the Republican National Convention. I'll start with a little story. It's about an American ambassador to the United Nations, and it's about a speech she gave to this convention. She called for the re-election of the Republican president she served, and she called out his Democratic opponent, a former vice president from a failed administration. That ambassador said, and I quote, "Democrats always blame America first." The year was 1984. The president was Ronald Reagan, and Ambassador Jeane Kirkpatrick's words are just as true today. Joe Biden and the Democrats are still blaming America first. Donald Trump has always put America first, and he has earned 4 more years as president. It was an honor of a lifetime to serve as the United States ambassador to the United Nations. Now, the UN is not for the faint of heart. It's a place where dictators, murderers, and thieves denounce America and then put their hands out and demand that we pay their bills. Well, President Trump put an end to all of that. With his leadership, we did what Barack Obama and Joe Biden refused to do. We stood up for America, and we stood against our enemies. Obama and Biden let North Korea threaten America. President Trump rejected that weakness, and we passed the toughest sanctions on North Korea in history. Obama and Biden let Iran get away with murder and literally sent them a plane full of cash. President Trump did the right thing and ripped up the Iran nuclear deal. Obama and Biden led the United Nations to denounce our friend and ally, Israel. President Trump moved our embassy to Jerusalem, and when the UN tried to condemn us, I was proud to cast the American veto. This president has a record of strength and success. The former vice president has a record of weakness and failure. Joe Biden is good for Iran and ISIS, great for communist China, and he's a godsend to everyone who wants America to apologize, abstain, and abandon our values. Donald Trump takes a different approach. He's tough on China, and he took on ISIS and won. And he tells the world what it needs to hear. At home, the president is the clear choice on jobs and the economy. He's moved America forward, while Joe Biden has held America back. When Joe was VP, I was governor of the great state of South Carolina. We had a pretty good run. Manufacturers of all kinds flocked to our state from overseas, creating tens of thousands of American jobs. People were referring to South Carolina as the beast of the Southeast, which I loved. Everything we did happened in spite of Joe Biden and his old boss. We cut taxes, they raised them. We slashed red tape, they piled on more mandates. And when we brought in good-paying jobs, Biden and Obama sued us. I fought back, and they gave up. A Biden-Harris administration would be much, much worse. Last time, Joe's boss was Obama. This time, it would be Pelosi, Sanders, and the squad. Their vision for America is socialism, and we know that socialism has failed everywhere. They want to tell Americans how to live and what to think. They want a government takeover of healthcare. They want to ban fracking and kill millions of jobs. They want massive tax hikes on working families. Joe Biden and the socialist left would be a disaster for our economy. But President Trump is leading a new era of opportunity. Before communist China gave us the coronavirus, we were breaking economic records left and right. The pandemic has set us back, but not for long. President Trump brought our economy back before, and he will bring it back again. There's one more important area where our president is right. He knows that political correctness and cancel culture are dangerous and just plain wrong. In much of the Democratic Party, it's now fashionable to say that America is racist. That is a lie. America is not a racist country. This is personal for me. I am the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. They came to America and settled in a small southern town. My father wore a turban. My mother wore a sari. I was a brown girl in a black and white world. We faced discrimination and hardship, but my parents never gave in to grievance and hate. My mom built a successful business. My dad taught 30 years at a historically black college, and the people of South Carolina chose me as their first minority and first female governor. America is a story that's a work in progress. Now is the time to build on that progress and make America even freer, fairer, and better for everyone. That's why it's so tragic to see so much of the Democratic Party turning a blind eye towards riots and rage. The American people know we can do better. And of course, we value and respect every Black life. The Black cops who've been shot in the line of duty, they matter. The Black small business owners who've watched their life's work go up in flames, they matter. The Black kids who've been gunned down on the playground, their lives matter too. And their lives are being ruined and stolen by the violence on our streets. It doesn't have to be like this. It wasn't like this in South Carolina 5 years ago. Our state came face to face with evil. A white supremacist walked into Mother Emanuel Church during Bible study. 12 African Americans pulled up a chair and prayed with him for an hour. Then he began to shoot. After that horrific tragedy, we didn't turn against each other. We came together, Black and white, Democrat and Republican. Together, we made the hard choices needed to heal. and removed a divisive symbol
I'm
peacefully.
sorry.
And
She just said we weren't in a racist country. Did I not hear that right? Maybe can we rewind? Do we have the opportunity to rewind?
what happened then should give
Just
us
want to
hope.
rewind. And,
A white supremacist walked into Mother Emanuel
Yeah,
Church during Bible study. 12 African Americans pulled up a chair and prayed with him for an hour. Then he began to shoot. After that horrific tragedy, we didn't turn against each other. We came together, black and white, Democrat and Republican. Together, we made the hard choices needed to heal and removed a divisive symbol peacefully and respectfully. What happened then should give us hope now. America isn't perfect, but the principles we hold dear are perfect. There's one thing I've learned. It's that even on our worst day, we are blessed to live in America. It's time to keep that blessing alive for the next generation. This president and this party are committed to that noble task. We seek a nation that rises together, not falls apart in anarchy and anger. We know that the only way to overcome America's challenges is to embrace America's strengths. We are striving to reach a brighter future where every child goes to a world-class school chosen by their parents, where every family lives in a safe community with good jobs, where every entrepreneur has the freedom to achieve and inspire, where every believer can worship without fear and every life is protected, where every girl and boy, every woman and man of every race and religion has the best shot at the best life. In this election, we must choose the only candidate who has and who will continue delivering on that vision. President Trump and Vice President Pence have my support, and America has our promise. We will build on the progress of our past and unlock the promise of our future. That future starts when the American people re-elect President Donald Trump. Thank you, good night, and may God always bless America.
And pretty much every other Chinese Communist Party, the virus struck. The president quickly took action and shut down travel from China. Joe Biden and his Democrat allies called my father a racist and a xenophobe for doing it. They put political correctness ahead of the safety and security of the American people. Fortunately, as the virus began to spread, the president acted quickly and ensured ventilators got to hospitals that needed them most. He delivered PPE to our brave frontline workers, and he rallied the mighty American private sector to tackle this new challenge. There's more work to do, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Job gains are outpacing what the so-called experts expected. But Biden's radical left-wing policies would stop our economic recovery cold.
PP
Already
and
talking
E.
the country down again.
PP
Madness.
and E.
Democrats claim to be for workers.
Hey, Charles, let
but
me
they
ask you
spent
something.
The entire pandemic.
You down with
trying to sneak
PPE?
a tax break for millionaires and Democrat states into the
Yes, I know PPE.
They attack.
I wonder, does he got a PP right now? Because he said PP and E.
The working man and woman. He supported the worst trade deals in the history of the planet. He voted for the NAFTA nightmare. Down the tubes went our auto industry. He pushed for TPP. Goodbye, manufacturing jobs. Beijing Biden is so weak on China that the intelligence community recently assessed that the Chinese Communist Party favors Biden. They know he'll weaken us both economically and on a world stage. Biden also wants to bring in more illegal immigrants to take jobs from American citizens. His open border policies would drive wages down for Americans at a time when low-income workers were getting real wage increases for the first time in modern history. He's pledged to repeal the Trump tax cuts, which were the biggest in our country. After 8 years of Obama and Biden's slow growth, Trump's policies have been like rocket fuel to the economy and especially to the middle class. Biden has promised to take that money back out of your pocket and keep it in the swamp. That makes sense, though, considering Joe Biden is basically the Loch Ness Monster of the swamp. For the past half century, he's been lurking around in there. He sticks his head up every now and then to run for president. Then he disappears and doesn't do much in between. So if you're looking for hope, look to the man who did what the failed Obama-Biden administration never could do and built the greatest economy our country has ever seen. And President Trump will do it again. We will be stronger than ever because when we put our mind to it, there is no obstacle that America can't surmount. Except there's a difference this time. In the past, both parties believed in the goodness of America. We agreed on where we wanted to go. We just disagreed on how to get there. This time, the other party is attacking the very principles on which our nation was founded. Freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the rule of law. Thomas Jefferson famously said, "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man." Our founders believed there was nothing more important than protecting our God-given right to think for ourselves. Now, the left, they're trying to cancel all of those founders. They don't seem to understand this important principle. In order to improve in the future, we must learn from our past, not erase it. So we're not going to tear down monuments and forget the people who built our great nation. Instead, we will learn from our past so we don't repeat any mistakes. And we will work tirelessly to improve the lives of all Americans. Joe Biden and the radical left are now coming for our freedom of speech. They want to bully us into submission. If they get their way, it will no longer be the silent majority. It will be the silenced majority. This has to stop. Freedom of expression used to be a liberal value, at least before the radical left took over. Now the Republican Party is the home of free speech, the place where anyone from any background can speak their mind, and may the best ideas win. People of faith are under attack. You're not allowed to go to church, but mass chaos in the streets gets a pass. It's almost like this election is shaping up to be church, work, and school versus rioting, looting, and vandalism. Or, in the words of Biden and the Democrats, peaceful protesting. Anarchists have been flooding our streets, and Democrat mayors are ordering the police to stand down. Small businesses across America, many of them minority-owned, are being torched by mobs. The Democrat mayors pretend it's not happening. They actually called it a summer of love. And that brings me to another important principle. Every American must be free to live without fear of violence in your country, in your communities, and in your homes. All men and women are created equal and must be treated equally under the law. That's why we must put an end to racism, and we must ensure that any police officer who abuses their powers is held accountable. What happened to George Floyd is a disgrace, and if you know a police officer, you know they agree with that too. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that our police are American heroes. They deserve our deepest appreciation. Because no matter what the Democrats say, you and I both know when we dial 911, we don't want it going to voicemail. So defunding the police is not an option. Everything starts with safety and security. You can't have anything else without it. You can't focus on building a better future for your children without the peace of mind that they can study safely in their classrooms, play safely in their neighborhoods, and sleep safely in their beds. But safety is only the beginning. Trump's America is a land of opportunity, a place of promise. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family that could afford the best schools and the finest universities. But a great education cannot be the exclusive right of the rich and powerful. It must be accessible to all. And that's why my dad is pro-school choice. That's why he's called education access the civil rights issue, not just of our time, but of all time. It is unacceptable that too many African American and Hispanic American children are stuck in bad schools just because of their zip code. Donald Trump will not stand for it. If Democrats really wanted to help minorities and underserved communities, instead of bowing to big money union bosses, they'd let parents choose what school is best for their kids. They'd limit immigration to protect American workers. They'd support the police who protect our neighborhoods. They'd learn how to negotiate trade deals that prioritize America's interests for a change. They'd end the endless wars and quit sending our young people to solve problems in foreign lands. They'd cut taxes for families and workers. They'd create opportunity zones that drive investment into inner cities. In other words, if Democrats cared for the forgotten men and women of our country, they'd do exactly what President Trump is doing. America is the greatest country on earth, but my father's entire worldview revolves around the idea that we can always do even better. Imagine the life you want to have, one with a great job, a beautiful home, a perfect family. You can have it. Imagine the country you want to live in, one with true equal opportunity, where hard work pays off and justice is served with compassion and without partiality. You can have it. Imagine a world where the evils of communism and radical Islamic terrorism are not given a chance to spread, where heroes are celebrated and the good guys win. You can have it. That is the life. That is the country. That is the world that Donald Trump and the Republican Party are after. And yes, you can have it. Because unlike Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats, our party is open to everyone. It starts by rejecting radicals who want to drag us into the dark and embracing the man who represents a bright and beautiful future for all. It starts by re-electing Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Thank you, and God bless America.
I'm Catalina Lauf. I work in the political space.
And I'm Madeline Lauf, and I'm the founder of Begin Health, a children's nutritional company.
We grew up in a really small town outside of Chicago.
Our mom's from Guatemala. Our dad's a small business owner from Chicago. And so we brought two different cultures together to create us. A little bit of crazy and
a little bit of fun, I guess. They taught us the values of hard work, liberty, to love this country unapologetically. Our dad is a beekeeper and just had so many different things out in the countryside, and it was just such a sweet
We grew up selling honey at farmers markets. So my line was, have you ever been stung by a bee? But really, it was teaching us, again, entrepreneurship, small business, self-reliance, and that we're the ones that need to put in the hard work to get what we want.
You know, my mother being from Guatemala, escaping what she had there, growing up in poverty, and coming here to the United States, being able to fulfill her destiny and be somebody that she couldn't there in her home country.
And they really instilled in us the sense of purpose, but also self-accountability, and that we had to strive to do the things that we wanted, and it was up to us to make those things happen.
In America, there's no ceiling of opportunity. You know, you define your own destiny through personal responsibility, through hard work, through having a moral value system. That's the American dream, and President Trump's providing that for everybody.
Look at my business, Begin Health. As a small startup that is growing and launching, we are constantly trying to innovate. And the big challenge that COVID brought that we just didn't see coming was that just almost everything kind of just shut down. And when you are a small startup and you have limited funding, and the funding is really only to kind of get you to that next milestone, we were really struggling. And so we were able to apply for a PPP loan, which really helped allow us to continue hiring and working and developing our products so that we could ultimately still launch.
It's now more than ever so important to have a president and an administration that understands that small business is the backbone of our economy. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was huge. Manufacturing, deregulation, fair trade. These are things that affected real Americans. We have a champion in the Oval Office who has this business background. He actually understands the need for small businesses like my sisters to survive. We aren't the stereotypical conservative. I mean, we come from Hispanic descent and we're millennial women, and that's not what the media wants. And so somebody like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this far left, these women come out with these very, very destructive political ideologies that are trying to infiltrate millennials and the next generation. I've decided to step up and say, well, we need a counter voice to these women.
There has been an assault on capitalism, just generally. And I think it's very scary to imagine a Biden world where the progressive wing ideas are starting to take front and center stage. You know, that will really choke the American economy. There will be over-regulation, over-taxation. It's very hard to innovate through those two things. And ultimately, what's really sad is the thought of, you know, making all of us dependent on the government. And we are not going to allow that.
I've seen a lot of moderates, a lot of people now changing over because of everything that's been happening. This is a taste of Biden's America. I mean, the rioting, the crime, freedom is at stake now. And this is going to be the most important election of our lifetime. We want to preserve the America that our mother came here for. Having a thriving economy, that is keeping America great. And President Trump has delivered on that promise. He's truly fighting for the American people. We're the greatest country in the world, period. On our worst day, we're still the greatest country in the world. And in order to preserve that, it's by putting America first, having a thriving economy, having happiness.
Good evening. I'm Senator Tim Scott from the great state of South Carolina. To all of you tuning in and participating in the political process, God bless you. This isn't how I pictured tonight, but our country is experiencing something none of us envisioned. From a global pandemic to the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, 2020 has tested our nation in ways we haven't seen for decades. But regardless of the challenges presented to us, every 4 years, Americans come together to vote, to share stories of what makes our nation strong and the lessons we have learned that can strengthen it for further generations. Because while this election is between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, it is not solely about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's about the promise of America. It's about you and me, our challenges and heartbreaks, hopes and dreams. It's about how we respond when tackling critical issues like police reform, when Democrats called our work a token effort and walked out of the room during negotiations because they wanted the issue more than they wanted a solution. Do we want a society that breeds success or a culture that cancels everything it even slightly disagrees with? I know where I stand because you see, I am living my mother's American dream. My parents divorced when I was 7 years old, and we moved in with my grandparents into a 2-bedroom home with me, my mom, and my brother sharing a room and one bed. My mom worked 16 hours a day to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. She knew that if we could find the opportunity, bigger things would come. I thought I had to use football to succeed in life, and my focus on academics faded away. My freshman year, I failed out. I failed 4 subjects: Spanish, English, world geography, and even civics. Trust me though, after 7 years in the Senate, I know I'm not the only one in Congress who failed civics. But even while I was failing the 9th grade, my mother always said to me, "Timmy, if you would just shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll be among the stars." She never lost faith in me, even when I lost faith in myself. Because of her encouragement, I went to summer school and caught up. The next year, I met my mentor, John Moniz, a Chick-fil-A operator. John saw something in me that I could not see in myself and started teaching me valuable life lessons. Like having a job would be a good thing, but creating jobs would be even better. That having an income could change my lifestyle, but creating a profit could change my community. He planted the seeds of what would become Opportunity Zones. This initiative that the president and I worked together on is now bringing more than $75 billion of private sector investment into distressed communities. I took those lessons to heart and started putting the pieces of my life back together. I realized a quality education is the closest thing to magic in America. That's why I fight to this day for school choice, to make sure every child in every neighborhood has a quality education. I don't care if it's a public, private, charter, virtual, or a homeschool. When a parent has a choice, their kid has a better chance. And the president has fought alongside me on that. Later in life, I started my own small business. That's why I know it is critical for us to have a tax code that encourages growth. We actually saw revenues to the Treasury increase after we lowered taxes in 2017. Rest assured, the Democrats do not want you to know that. After starting my small business and spending some time in local government, I decided to run for Congress in 2010. The district is based in Charleston, South Carolina, where the Civil War started, against a son of our legendary Senator, Strom Thurmond. You may be asking yourself, how does a poor Black kid from a single-parent household run and win in a race crowded with Republicans against the Thurmond? Because of the evolution of the Southern.
I'm not asking myself that.
In an overwhelmingly white district, the voters judged me not on the color of my skin, but on the content
color of my skin,
character.
but the content
We live in a world
my
that
character.
only wants you to believe.
Did I
in the
hit it
bad
right
way.
on the? I knew that's what you was about to say.
Economically,
Not
and
on the
culturally
color of my
polarized
skin, but the
ways.
content of my character, brother.
Our nations are always.
Can we?
Fair.
Oh my God!
Really where we
Did I
want
know
to
what
be,
you was
but I
about to say?
thank
Yes, I
God
know.
Almighty, we are not where we used to be.
Oh, you gonna Martin Luther King us today on that platform? You're
When we
not
stumble,
gonna Martin Luther King
and we
us.
will. We pick ourselves
Oh,
back up
Stargate SG-1
and try
looking
again.
mug. You
We don't
need
give
to
in to
stop.
cancel culture or the radical and factually based.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
That things are worse today
trying my
than in
spirit.
the 1860s
I'm
or the
feeling
1960s. We have work to do, but I believe in the goodness of America. The promise that all men and all women
I believe in the
are
goodness of America, but I don't
created
believe in the goodness of these lies.
And if you're watching
telling.
tonight, I'm betting you do too.
Yes, I am.
Over the past 4 years, we have made tremendous progress towards that promise. President Trump built the most inclusive economy ever. 7 million jobs created pre-COVID-19, and 2/3 of them went to women, African Americans, and Hispanics. The first new major effort to tackle poverty in a generation, Opportunity Zones. We
So we're
put
gonna act like COVID-19 ain't a
hard-earned
real
tax
thing, though, too.
dollars
Still,
back in people's pockets by cutting their taxes, especially for single-parent households like the one I grew up in, cutting single mothers' taxes 70% on average.
You want to talk about
President Trump
CNN? What
supported these
CNN
tax
says
cuts
for
for
job
those
gain?
single moms and
Yeah,
other
please tell me what CNN says.
and
Report that live right now. Please tell me.
All right, check
what
it out.
CNN Look, yeah, go on and pull that
I
up.
was curious. I was curious.
So I'm going to ask you, the American
the
people,
Trump administration,
not to simply look
6.7 million jobs
say,
gained
but to look back
in the
at
first
what they've
35
done.
months
This
of the
election
presidency.
is about your
Obama,
future. And it's
7.9.
to paint a full
So that is
picture of the
absolutely
records
false.
of Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Did we have a
Joe
live
Biden
fact check
said
moment
if
on
a
Black News
man didn't
Tonight?
vote for him,
Absolutely
he wasn't
false.
truly black. Joe Biden said black people are a monolithic community.
Oh my God.
Joe Biden who said
Look, I don't like Joe Biden either, but I'm just gonna be honest about the fact that you just lying up in here. Like you just be
And while
lying.
his words are one thing,
People just say whatever they want now. This is
taken
America.
to
They just say whatever they want.
America
Must be true. I said it.
Gotta be true. It's facts all day long.
Americans behind
Or it's an
bars.
alternative fact.
President Trump's criminal justice reform law fixed many of the disparities
I never forget.
Biden created and
Like an
made
elephant.
our system more fair and just for all Americans.
Your language.
Joe Biden also failed our nation.
You didn't just slipped up all the way tonight.
Universities,
Oops.
keeping blame on them as they
Please.
fought to ensure our young
Because you're gonna
folks
make me
had
slip up into
access
one. I
to higher
cannot.
education. Once again,
I only did one. I didn't say
to clean
nothing
up
else.
Joe Biden's mess.
Oh Lord.
President Trump signed into law historically high funding
I
for
broke the internet.
HBCUs.
That calls
as
for a
well as
little-
bill to give them
Oopsie.
permanent funding.
Oopsie. YouTube was like that cussing.
Time ever. And now Joe Biden wants to come for your pocketbook.
I checked the box that says this ain't for kids.
You're a blue state millionaire. I'm serious. That's one of their solutions for the pandemic. They want to take more money from your pocket.
Oh, so they're saying that they're not gonna. Oh, okay.
Moguls. So they
I'm happy
get
that,
tax
but didn't you?
Republicans, however, passed President Trump's once in a generation tax reform bill that lowered taxes for single moms, working families, and those in need.
Yeah, but you know what
So when
taxes
it
pay
comes
for,
to
bro?
what
You know what
Joe
taxes
Biden
pay for?
says he'll
All the
do,
stuff we use in this country.
Look at his actions.
That's what they pay for. I'm okay with
Look
paying
at his
taxes.
policies.
I don't mind paying taxes.
Look at what he already did.
Can we see them taxes? Speaking of taxes,
While
can
he's
we
been in
see them
Washington,
taxes?
That's a fair
Can
point.
we see them taxes? Speaking of taxes, can we see them taxes though? Run me them taxes though. Run me them tracks, them Trump tax returns, please. Run
I
me
don't
them.
see it happening.
That is not what is happening.
Oh,
our side.
That is not what's happening.
Policy.
He said, you heard us. He said,
Biden's radical Democrats trying to permanently transform what it means to be an American. Make no mistake.
Wow.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want a cultural revolution, a fundamentally different America.
That is not what.
They will turn our country into a socialist utopia. And history has taught
You know what that
us
sounded like? I know you are, but what am I?
pain and misery.
he should have added in a near.
Working people hoping to rise. Instead,
And when we
must
win the
focus
election, we
on
will
the
say,
promise of the American journey. I know that journey well. My grandfather's 99th birthday would have been tomorrow. Growing up, he had to cross the street if a white person was coming. He suffered the indignity of being forced out of school as a third grader. To
And
pick
I'm sure
cotton.
he's very
He
proud
never
about
learned
where you ended
to
up.
read or write. Yet he lived long enough to see his grandson become the first African American to be elected to both the United States House and the United States Senate in the history of this country. Our family went from cotton to Congress in one lifetime. And that's why I believe
Your grandfather's
the next
99.
American century can be better than the last. There are millions of families just like mine all across this nation, full of potential, seeking to live the American dream. And I'm here tonight to tell you that supporting the Republican ticket gives you the best chance of making that dream a reality. God bless you. And Father, please continue.
Add that no place else that you all usually do.
Of America. God bless.
Wow.
I feel like if that dude's grandpa, like, heard some of the stuff Trump said, and then, like, heard that his grandson was supporting him, like, he would not be happy like that. Like, I wouldn't be happy if I was that dude's grandpa that suffered through that stuff, and then had my grandson, like, support this guy. Like,
I think that was it. Yeah, there ain't gonna be much coverage after this. Please.
you're sitting in the theater hoping they roll credits because it's a Lord of the Rings movie, and you just want to go home.
honestly, dog. Like when we said, like, I know, like, that all inclusive was looking at me like all inclusive. You said everybody. I'm like, it's really hard to be all inclusive when the inclusivity did not even vibe with me. Like I was like, wow, that was.
I'll say right off the bat, the Democratic National Convention's live stream had way better quality. This quality of this stream was garbage. Like,
Is that done? Oh, they said
yeah,
that's what. Hallelujah. Let me play some music.
done.
Let me play some. Hold on. I think the people deserve a karaoke song after that. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, yeah, I can. I can. You
that should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine because that, let's do something because what was that? My.
I like how he talks about his main point was that Trump acted in closed borders bans, which is a restriction, not a ban, by the way. He faster than any other country, which is a lie because 36 other countries are faster than us. But that's okay. We just say whatever we want to say.
If I was them, I wouldn't have even touched coronavirus. Like I would have
We
just.
don't have anything else to brag about it. Everything else went to crap. That's the only thing that they could say, and it's not even true. It's just hilarious.
It's alternative facts.
Something.
But I get in trouble if I'm not trying. I beat up on the DNC though. I said
we hated hard.
We hated hard on the D and the C. The DNC. PP and
E. He done all that. My daddy did the PP and E.
He got the PP and the E out. He got the PPs and the EEs out.
He's trying to be powerful. I don't know what he was.
But hey, no hate on him though. Like no hate at all. Like I'm really tired. And like I'm just thinking in my mind, I'm like, it is what it is. Like he said. It frankly is. It just you can't get mad about everything. I can just simply try my best to, be excited, and be happy about speechless. That I got it. Like, you know what? I know. Because there's no words. Do you have words?
I don't know what to say.
I'm just asking, do you have words? Tell me, do you have words?
Not really, man. I don't know what their goal was with that, to convince the other side to jump, or to convince undecideds to jump.
I don't even think that was that's what I was saying. Like Democrats, like rally your base, because that's what we've seen from the DNC. I mean, from the RNC, we seen them rallying their base, and a lot of people said that they rallied, the Democrats rallied their base. No, they didn't. Like no, they actually spoke on like. See, it's so funny to me that we go into the DNC and we don't speak on police brutality, and then we go into the RNC and the first, like, it's out the gate, we're going to speak on police. So it was like, okay, that...
They used it as a strong point somehow. Now, I will say, when they said that they needed more funding for psych evals, for de-escalation training, that they're not wrong. They're not wrong there.
No.
But this is not the police's job to manage these issues that are thrown to them. It should be broken up into many other things
Yeah, but in the same sentence, he said he don't want people, psychiatrists handling the policing. He said that. Remember?
That's too bad. That was a mistake.
Because like, I mean, I could be wrong. We could roll the tape because I don't want to be wrong. But I'm like, all I'm saying is this, and this is just. I'm not mad because they did what they're supposed to do. They rallied their base. And that's all I can say.
You're right. You're speaking from if you were in charge of this entire event, this is the route you would have taken to rally your base around.
I'm not going to say if I was in charge of I would never be in charge of this event. Let's just be honest. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of that was 30. That was 15.
It was just you singing. It should be fine.
I would have. I can't say that they made any mistakes.
That's what. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On their end, what they're doing, I can't say that they made any mistakes. Hold on 1 second. I believe in rallying your base. I do believe in that. So I can't say that I feel like, and I don't know why these are not on here right now, but I can't say that I made any mistakes, that they made any mistakes.
I brought my own. I didn't even mean for that. That's nice.
I feel like we watched a very one-sided DNC, straight down the middle. It was like CNN all over, and it was like we don't have like a position. We don't have a stance. Our stance is we need to get Donald Trump out of office. Republicans came with a stance like, we don't care if it's lies. We don't care what it has to be. We don't want Joe Biden in the White House. That is just simply, but, excuse me, had a moment. In the same sentence, they had statistics. Say that for me. I got it.
Statistics.
They had
They had numbers.
Statistics, some numbers that they have found from redacted information, obviously. Like, it had to be redacted. Like, I feel like somebody took a marker and redacted the information and then gave it to them because it was like, okay, where are y'all at? Like, if I hear that America is not a racist country. She was a minority, right? She was the first. What was her name? Like, we were watching that, and I was just like, "Who is you? Who are you? Where are you?" That's just as bad as like my classmate saying like, there is no, in all of his history of going to Bridgeport, he never heard any racist things. And I was like, what? Because, like, you rode the, okay. I end up, she was, when it was, somebody's on YouTube. When it was mentioned that social justice was part of Trump's platform, I about died. He didn't address the protests for days. Shay E, like, whoever you are, Shay E, like, I'm in agreement with you. Like, it was like, I couldn't believe. Like, I was like, whoa, wait, where? Can you help me believe it though? Danger, can you, Shay, like, where you at? Because I was screaming. You want to get on camera and talk? You from YouTube? You one of our YouTube viewers? I can see you the backstage view. But I was like, wow. I don't know what we were doing today. I was confused. I was baffled.
We just talked about how great he was for the economy. He said it was the greatest in the world pre-COVID, which is a complete lie. It was not. It's
The pre-COVID thing.
even
I'm just.
if I had called this whole thing a hoax, everything would have been so good.
Facts.
I was like, dude, you did this to yourself, man.
Bermuda Triangle. No. I don't know what that means. But,
You'll have to come on, explain that one.
Look, all I'm saying is
they probably feel like they're like we're in the bad timeline. We stepped into the Bermuda Triangle because sometimes I wonder.
don't make me do my eye on camera. Look. Why? That's what I be feeling like. Like, what was y'all thinking? So, this morning, because I was like actually trying to schedule stuff for the live stream, and I need you to go find this video so you can play this national anthem because I know it's not copywritten. Like, and it was so it was yeah, it was this morning. They started their. So this morning, because I was trying to schedule stuff, so I went to the RNC and I like went there and I was like, wow, yeah, like, all right, so RNC. And it was like ding, 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 ding. So it started. I'm not a YouTuber, just a lady in Washington State, and the RNC was all same SIJ.
Oh.
No, but I know I'm not a YouTuber either. Oh, am I? Are we YouTubers? No, we're no.
We don't generate content solely for the purpose of YouTube, and I think that's what they mean.
Yeah. So Shay, we
multi-platformists.
Yeah, we're multi-platformists, I guess. We're vloggers? Are we vloggers? But
I think it's mostly about your life.
Yeah, this is not about my life.
So what? So okay. So the national anthem. What am I looking for here?
It's the beginning of it. It's the beginning. It's right at like after she comes on. She said, "Oh, say."
Right. But is it at the Braves?
She's got a red dress. She got a red dress on. It starts from the first.
Yeah, but I'm missing fundamental information. Where was this person when they were singing this?
Oh, let me sing you the link.
Yeah, that's important. I got the win. I got the what? I just don't know why.
I respect that shit either. I do. I'm like, yeah, she was at the national RNC 2020 morning. Started at 9 in the morning, by the way.
What did?
Like, it started at 9 in the morning.
Their convention footage?
Yes.
Good golly.
That's what I was trying to like tell you. Like,
that's what it was on. It was on the RNC.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. That's what I was looking for. I didn't understand that it was that went longer than what I was watching.
Yep, it actually did, and it was in the morning. They had a kickoff. They had the chairman of the Republican National Convention come on, and she basically, led them in and said what, they were about. And then they had a African American or person of color sing the national anthem, and she started off with Republicans actually stand for the national anthem.
Okay.
And that's how she went into it. And she's got a red, like, Showtime at the Apollo dress on.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna try and find just the RNC feed we were just watching. Just take it back because it'll be there, right? It was near the beginning. You said.
No, it's at 9 a.m. in the morning. I think they did 2 different feeds for them.
Oh boy, it doesn't come up well, but
national anthem. Let me try that. Let me see if I can find it. don't know if they must have took her down because I don't even see her nowhere on the internet. They must have took her down. I don't even see her nowhere on the internet. Did you hear me when I said that before?
Barely.
Let me see.
Certainly isn't easy to find.
No, because they don't have like I don't know what I don't know who's running their social stuff, but
But what?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So one of the articles that came up when I was searching for that is how to stand during national anthem. Just in case you forgot, or in case you can't look to your left and right.
Got her. So it's I'm gonna send you the link to this video, and it starts at it looks like 3:41. I'm gonna send it to my messenger first, which is my cell phone. Charles. Boom. Got it. I had to get it because like I need you to see this.
You're sending it via Facebook?
Well, no, I got to send it to myself first.
Oh, I got you.
And then I'm going to send it in the stream for you.
All right, that'll work.
Because you got to see this, bro.
We're going to see. I don't know. I don't even know what we're looking for.
Oh, it's at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You'll find it.
No, I know, but I don't know why we're about to watch the national anthem.
Because we should watch I put it in the wrong one. I want to watch the national anthem. I stand for the national anthem. I do.
Okay.
I'm definitely. All I heard was a lot of fear and hate mongering. There are extreme people on the fringes of both parties. The Cuban guy took the cake.
If you're reading the comment, would you bring it up? I just wasn't sure if you were reading the comment.
Yeah. No, I'm not. The Cuban guy took the cake. All the social unrest is not a push for communism. Shay E. I agree.
For communism, no.
Like talking about real social issues that's happening in America is all of a sudden like I don't get it. You know, it's just like why? What? I wonder. I don't feel like. Why can't I post on my Facebook page? That's weird to me. It says I'm live, but I can't post with my name. Like it's interesting.
So I'm at like 320. Is that good?
Yeah, it's fine. Bring her on. Make sure you click the audio tab.
Thank you, Charles.
You're very welcome, Danger. I just want to hear. I want your face still on camera because you need to hear this.
Okay.
You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be beautiful.
I hate to say, I sincerely doubt it, but I will go ahead and give it a shot.
Will you go ahead and look for Whitney Houston's national anthem afterwards too?
I'll give it another swing. I sure will.
You should do that. Oh, here we go. She's loading. Yes, come on. She's dressed very nicely.
What's going on?
Yeah. Danger.
I checked the box.
I ain't even talk about the box.
I done checked the box. I'm gonna check it again.
You keep checking them cursings too.
What? I didn't say nothing. Did I say it? We're gonna get canceled. Okay, good.
No, you got to rewind that to
They
where
said it, yeah, they said it right there.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Right there. 3. Yeah, right. Just go 3.
See, look at what's happening.
You turned your volume all the way down? Mute it? Are they muting us?
It's the strangest thing.
It's so funny. It's cool. Don't even, like, the next time you get it started, don't even try to do any rewinding. Notice that Republicans stand for the national anthem. I still stand for the national anthem.
Do it one more time.
Do it one more time. Oh, say.
Right?
Yep.
It's messed up. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, it's Fox News Media. Let me see if I have an email. There's a long, no, no, she said no, there's a long, awkward pause.
Is there really? Okay, I'll keep it going. I just assumed there'd be some sort of audio.
I do hear stuff moving.
Okay.
Notice that Republicans.
Oh, she's so right. They had an audio issue.
Okay.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
This is my song.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets refilled, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, saved us that star-spangled banner yet wave on the land of the
She holding that note. Yes. Now.
and the home of the brave. America, it is a great country, isn't it? Yes, it is.
That's enough of that.
She sings another one.
What for?
She sings another one. You don't want to hear it? I thought you were going to love it. I really thought you would like the all right, go on put Whitney on, please. Because I'm trying to show you patriotism, or, you know, that's not like, I'm sorry, I love my country. I do. But I don't think y'all should accept that for a good national anthem. I'm sorry. I love my country, and I love to sing the national anthem, actually.
Are you talking 91 Super Bowl?
I'm talking about Whitney Houston, who made everybody feel some type of way. I love my country, but that didn't move me. The national anthem always moves me because I believe in that. Sorry. Forgive me. But I'm being honest. Hey, you got to sign into the premium account. It was operatic. I understand that it was operatic. It was, but it was good. I'm not going to take away her hitting the notes, but it sounded like Alice in Wonderland. It sounded like Julia What's that? What's The Sound of Music? It was very
Man, why can't I think of her name?
Julie Andrews. Is it?
That sounds right.
Yeah, Whitney's. Thank you, Shay E. Whitney does make your heart well. Like literally, we're about to play it. I hope we got it from the Super Bowl. You got the Super Bowl, right?
I'm making sure that's the right one.
She says soulless. Well, she's in a white outfit, so she's got on a white track suit.
No, that ain't it.
No, that's a performance. She got on. I could see that screen. She's in that white track suit that you keep skipping by. Go back. I see it. It's right. It's right at the top. It's right at the top. Go
It
up.
looked like it was the junkiest quality.
No, that is the only one that there is, Danger.
All right. Let's take a gander.
I like the word gander.
The audio should still be good, right?
Yeah, audio's on. Among the annuals of national anthems at the prelude to the sporting events, few have topped the one delivered by Whitney Houston before Super Bowl XXV in 1991 in Tampa. Just a woman, her incredible voice and the bare minimum, a strenuous notes. Her rendition came at the particularly patriotic time just after the onset Persian Gulf War, and it was released as a single. It was re-released after the September 11th terrorist attacks in Houston. Donated all proceeds to charity. She ranks among the best of all time because of circumstances and that voice. Play it. I'm just saying, it's Whitney. My. Oh, my country, 'tis of thee. That's how I feel after I hear that. I just, this land is your land. You know, and the home of the, she was like, brave. Yes.
It was nice.
I even believed. Tell me you believed her sing that. No, man, I'm serious. That's the reality of it is that some people, I'm not going to say all, would rather rally a bunch of people to represent people of color that believe the same thoughts that they think and try to slap it onto a package and say, hey, that's the rest of Black America. Or that's the rest of Mexican America. Like, that's not the way it works. Like, stop hate mongering. Stop fear mongering. Let's join together. Stop making a Republican or Democrat. Let's talk about this is a morality check. This is a heart check. Like, don't say that the president doesn't have an issue with race when Puerto Rico is still sitting without power. Don't say that he doesn't have an issue with race when there was children literally being stripped from their parents, kept in concentration camps. Nobody wants to say it like that, but that's the truth. The truth of the matter is they didn't even write down whose kids they were. That rhetoric, that same rhetoric was used in this country before, and I'm just not going to be quiet about that fact. So we're going to go to bed. We're going to schedule our episode for tomorrow, and we're going to let this go tonight. Like, I just can't sit here and act like I'm going to sit up here and literally not say my truth.
I can't blame you.
I said my truth about the DNC, the RNC. There is absolutely no excuse.
They kept saying America first. And I spent the better part of that entire, whatever you'd like to call that, searching this internet, which is a vast place, for any evidence that we are first place in literally anything. And I could not see any statistics in which we break top 6 at all.
No, that's just what you say when you don't want to deal with facts. You don't want to deal with climate change. You don't want to deal with a whole president that's colluded by Russia. You don't want to talk about the things. You don't want to deal with facts. You want to blame it all on one party. No, this is to hear That guy in the end.
Yeah.
And he closed the show. I literally sat there and listened to him talk about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor as if the Democrats created those deaths. Like it's their fault. Defund. Stop acting like President Trump has actually passed legislation on reforming the police. Can you please, can you Google and search for me some legislation or executive order that President Donald Trump has signed into law about police brutality or police reform or funding on de-escalation? And she said it felt like milquetoast. I mean, I believe you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I got to agree. Yeah. Make sure you hit that follow button, Shay E, so you hear when we go live. If you're enjoying yourself, please hit that follow button and let all your friends know too. A friend of mine, I don't know who that is, but all I'm saying is I'm tired. If I want macaroni and cheese, I want macaroni and cheese with 6 different layers of cheeses in it, and I want it baked, and I want a crust on the top, and I want to cut it, and I want to chunk it on my plate, and I want to eat it like it's cake. And then after Thanksgiving in the morning, I want to take that macaroni and cheese, I want to put it in a bowl, and I want to get some dressing, cornbread dressing, and I want to mix it up in a bowl and then top it with a little bit of yams. It's called like my little after Christmas salad. Like it's just, you eat it all together. And then I want to throw some hot sauce on top of it. I don't even know what I'm talking.
Hot sauce and mac and cheese, that's my stuff.
That is so good. So I'm saying all these things, but when I eat macaroni and cheese, I don't want Kraft Mac. I want to commit to the macaroni and cheese. Like if I'm going to use macaroni and cheese, I want to commit to that whole thing. And I said that to say, stop trying to commit to people that believe like you believe. Why don't you try to find a middle ground with us all? And you opening up your whole thing and saying that they never said, it wasn't. Thank you, Shay E. Thank you for the chat. We really appreciate you staying there with us. It bothers me. Like the national anthem to me was like, man, like, yo. First of all, I really want to see if we can find a check to find out how much she was paid. Because there's checks out there that's be had, okay? Checks are getting signed. They got to be. And I mean, hey, thank you folks so much for watching Black News Tonight. We appreciate you for tuning in. As we said, we're an all-inclusive platform. We believe in giving a louder voice to real people in their community. Have a great night. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be watching the RNC again. And, yep.
It'll be just as much fun.
Yeah, it is, because you know where I'm going to be? Huh? Somewhere, at some fine food establishment with a mask on and my cell phone. And an AirPod.
Sure.
Because I am not going to be sitting with no lights and cameras no more. Why? For whom? They ain't even have lights and camera. Them flags didn't even move. Not even when people walked. And then I was like, is there a crowd there or is there not a crowd there? Because I was still trying to figure out, like, were they social distancing or were they not social distancing? Like, I could imagine, like, actually, like, opening up and, like, seeing, like, a whole, like, crowd. But then when I looked at the viewing on YouTube, like, 46,000 people were watching. Like, I was just like, But then you said it best. You're like, well, the people that vote for them go to sleep at 8 o'clock. So that's probably why they did the 9 o'clock call. Because they know the people that vote for them are not up at that time.
All the people that just got back from being hostages or whatever, they were like all sitting there, not distanced at all. So just sitting right next to each other.
Well, all I'm saying is the RNC was boring. And, yeah, like, they were sitting all with no masks. Like, they just got done having COVID-19. And, like, so I was trying to figure out, was the president saying that he had COVID-19? Because he definitely did say, like, yeah, I took this and I took that and I took zinc and I was fine. And I'm like,
that's a fair point.
Are we a news network or what are we? Like, are we just a late night show? I think we're a late night show, but I'm just saying, I was just listening and I was like, it was like, I took zinc and I took this. I was like, all right, so did you have COVID? Can we get a real report on if you had COVID or not? But with that being said, thank you so much for watching Black News Tonight. Danger, hit me with one.
Okay.
Give me a thank you for watching Black News Tonight. You know, we ain't doing no 30-second video. Give me a thank you for watching Black News Tonight.
Thank you for watching Black News Tonight. I'm Danger.
Thank you for watching Black News Tonight. I'm Charles.
We appreciate you staying with us. We'll catch you next time.
Hey, we wish we had better content. Catch our show on Fridays.
It's better.
It's better. Way better.
All right.
This is
Here come the 30.
Here come the birdie.